So we've hosted this Zoom meeting because the whole process of explaining this structure of universal law community trust to people got a whole lot easier after Thursday, when they completely annihilated themselves by their own determination on the subject of surety. So just to give a little backstory, finally, somebody had the balls big enough to go and arrest somebody impersonating a judge. So we'd arrested the police, obviously, and exemplified that they obviously they can't do anything to you, well, because you are upholding the law. And so the people who had enough trust in themselves to be able to not joinder with that legal fiction under any circumstances set a precedence, which then obviously set a precedence within every realm, including the administrative systems, that Minister then obviously was something that they couldn't take the jurisdiction of, and in using it they knew that they couldn't make a claim because it was actually them then who was using something that they did not have the right of use of. So all this time we've all been using something that we didn't have the right of use of, and that's why we just before we came on and did this, we were just saying to people that get used to not associating yourself, get used to not associating yourself with that legal fiction in any way, even if it's just on a Zoom call and it pops up as a username. The severing of that is what is supposed to be exemplified on the red paper, on the assignment of consent, the notice of transfer of liability. So the actual deed is done before you create a document to talk about the deed you have executed. Otherwise, it's back in presumption. I am going to do this deed. I may or may not do this deed. I would have, could have, would have, but I didn't do this deed. And so that, as we know, is what brings and breathes life, let's say, if something can possibly be brought to life that doesn't exist. And we breathe life into that administrative system because we presume our way through this, and the presumption that we were all facing wasn't necessarily anymore our own presumption. Once we've dealt with our own presumption and realised that it is us that are creating this manifestation of what we call reality, and then turned upon ourselves and said, what the fucking hell are you doing? If it is you that is responsible for the administrative slavery system, then it's very simple for you to not do it. It's not, you don't have to look over your shoulder or point your finger at somebody else and be more involved in what other people are doing rather than yourself anymore, because you take back the responsibility. Now, what we've been doing, obviously, with those steps is we've been rebutting the presumption that the consent and all the equitable rights and shares and everything like that is implied to be, to constitute, was being granted away. So if I am granting away my equitable rights and all of the things that I don't know about when I use a legal fiction that doesn't belong to me, then what about if I use a legal fiction that I have got the right of use of, but the legal system hasn't? That's where Minister Emma came in as a title. Now, Minister Emma is not a title. Minister Emma is a group of words that have been abbreviated, which is energy and matter in movement. And there you are, all ministering that, which you are, the indefinable thing that can, if we have to diminish ourselves in any way, then let it only be energy and matter in movement, and that you are the minister of that. What that does is it takes back all of those titles that they've tried to take the jurisdiction of you through by you claiming one of them. And that obviously, as Minister of Event, you are obliged to uphold universal law. the administrative system is only there to prosecute and persecute those who add to the administration of the law. And so when you actually stop doing that, and very simply, how was it? How was I adding to the administration of the law? How was I crediting legal fiction system? And I was using something that belongs to me. So in not doing that, then obviously your rights are all back in your hands. But the fingerprints and the DNA that we've all very easily disclosed up until now have been attached to a legal fiction. And obviously doing what it was that we've been doing with the whole process of those steps on that website now were to create another structure, another platform for you to be able to, if I need to have this administrative structure of ecclesiastical formation, then I've got one, but it's just not yours. And so once that Ministerium event had gone, two Ministerium events had gone the whole hog to the degree where they'd exemplified that it doesn't really matter what it is that you do, I'm not going to contract with you, I'm not going to commit that fraud. And so in doing that, it not only set precedents that, Ministerium event is not something that you can play a game of commerce with. And so they placed an order when another Ministerium event had gone and been arrested for another backstory, a story nothing to do really with, as far as I'm concerned, upholding the law specifically. It's somebody who'd come to us and said, look, I've got this problem and I want to use Ministerium event, I want to assign the problem to his own trust. And he was obviously then standing surety to himself, which is what all came about with an order that said that anybody who is representing Universal Law Community Trust, and this case is unable to lay a claim in their courts without the permission of a High Court judge. Now, the restraining order is always made in reference, in respect to the victim. Now, the order that was made came off the back of HMCTS and all administrative systems being made the defendant, because it was they who were laying the claim. So we've given them the scenario, obviously, if let's say a man or a woman has to take out a restraining order against another because of behaviour, and then the party who's holding the restraining order, claiming to be the victim of the matter that requires the restraining order, then goes and instigates a scenario where the order is broken, then who is it who broke the order? And who is it who is guilty of contempt of the court order itself? Well, it's not the claimant in the first instance, it's not the victim, because the HMCTS, first of all, couldn't be the victim, and there would have been no need for a habeas corpus to have been served if the administrative system didn't exist. And that was the document, if anybody's cared to read it, that's actually why they couldn't allow that, obviously, to go ahead as a habeas corpus, and instead they dismissed it at sight and issued a restraining order. Now, in doing that, they were the defendants, and they now set a precedent that a defendant can have a restraining order issued in favour of the defendant, destroying the validity of any restraining order whatsoever across the board. They then went on to, so they said, because you or you or you, they tried to include anybody and everybody, even names that were not spelt identically as the names or titles that they'd used, without the right of use being granted to them to use minister and event in any of their paperwork anyway. So their documents are now exemplifying their open contempt of their own system. And so these are the receipts, these are the Greek apodixy proofs. This is the evidence that this legal administrative system has is completely, we know all of that, we know it's unlawful, but in commerce now, in their own commercial definitions, they have got to the point where they can't even launch, they can't initiate their administrative system because it depends on a third party. Now, if it has been determined by them that another cannot stand surety to another, then how can anything commercial exist? It cannot, because everything commercial requires a third party. Now, if I or you or me cannot be determined to be able to assign our consent to another party to stand surety to us, it's not just somebody who's coming along to say, hey, I'm using my national insurance account here to stand surety to this guy who's in the prison and lawfully incarcerated for arresting somebody impersonating a judge, because I'm obliged to under the law. And don't forget that we've already done this 3 or 4 times now, where those orders have already gone through, using somebody else's national insurance account other than the claimant. Why? Because why should we pay? There's an account over there, it's to discharge the charges in exactly the same way that they were created, using somebody's credit file, using somebody's equitable rights of the planet and the shares. That's what your job is, isn't it? Crown Corporation, HMCTS. Isn't that why you're sitting there professing to be a court of law in abbreviated columns? And isn't that how you got there, by the assignment of consent of the particular individual who has picked up the name and said, that's mine, and popped along to hear at the court about what's going on, or being abducted under force and threat of duress by your henchman, your private protection patrol, and brought forward to this so-called court of law that can only exist because of one thing, because of the assignment of consent. Now, if I cannot assign my consent to an other to stand surety to me in all matters, then why are you asking me to assign my consent to be the surety of your legal fiction? So it's not, where is the contract? Or I haven't got anything to contract with you with at this point. There is just simply nothing to contract with. It has just simply dissolved itself by that definition. The fact that it's the agents of the administrative system in Cardiff determined that you cannot be stood surety to, the claimant has to stand surety to himself. Well, thank you very much. That means that if he has to stand surety to himself, then he has got all of the means to be able to do that surety thing back in his own hands, which means that he cannot stand surety to your legal fiction, which is why he has given you the offering of, you can call me, you can call me Minister of Event 1852. And so, because they chose not to call him by the name that he has assumed for himself, then they are not able to process any case filings or any of their commercial monetary mechanism in the background, because that name, and they know that he knows, and they know that we know, and now they know that you all know, that there is nothing that they can do to that minister of his own energy and matter in movement to get him to use that legal fiction, because there is nothing to use that legal fiction with. If they have destroyed, which they did, their own definition of surety, then not another vessel can ever be launched, not another exchange through a post machine can ever be undertaken, not another court case can ever be heard, because the one thing that it requires is the assignment of consent to that's what people are doing when they use a legal fiction. They're giving their rights, their share of this rock, to the Chief Attorney General title, and whoever has been elected, or, you know, their best buddy at that moment in time got the job. Whoever it is who can facilitate the slavery system the most effectively gets the assignment of your consent. So when people contact me and say, look, I've been to the website and I got a load of questions and I want to take up 2 hours of your time for you to explain this to me specifically, because I'm still suffering from the specialness of my ego. Know this, people, everybody's equal in slavery. You're all equally debt slave. There's no specialness in that. Just what form it takes. It's always the same. It's always there. It's always your gas. It's always your rights. Whatever it is, in whatever form it comes, what is happening here is you're giving away your rights to and for commerce to be committed upon them. Now they have completely determined for themselves that you can't actually do that. They secured commerce from ever being able to initiate. For those people who are showing the due diligence to pick up these documents that we've got and apply them themselves, that is when you start to see the effects of what it is that you said you were going to do, and then go and execute it, and then you talk about it. So we've got, obviously, that's why it's been done in these steps. Now, if, which obviously if, it's a big presumption, if we haven't got that structure anymore, then what are those people doing in the court? What are those people doing sitting there after they have determined that the very thing that puts them there cannot be done? And this is what we've said to people all this time. All you're doing is you're holding up a mirror and saying, look at this shit show that you still believe in. I just simply do not share your psychotic belief. Look at you. I'm doing back to you what it is that you have said is okay. Is it okay? Do you like that? Do you like me standing there kicking your doors in at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, pretending that gas is escaping so me and my mates can come and put some dodgy meters on your wall that are going to take all of the information about your house and radiate you at the same time, because I've got a piece of paper that says that. And just in case you don't agree with me, you don't peacefully surrender your rights to me to do that and stop me and don't open the door for me, I brought my buddies along who you believe got some authority over you. Now the poor police standing there, the court have just completely dissolved the structure of surety that underwrites them to be there from the top down. So the mechanism that they would have used at that point, obviously, okay, I've arrested you, who are you, what's your name, sign your consent and pay for the police, their profits and the private prison. That's why Minister Venice is so important for people to get fluid with, to use in place of any other method of identification, because it really does preserve your rights. You don't have to watch Ryan Brooks explaining about how you take your passport and put all rights reserved on it. Your rights are reserved anyway, even if you go and use that legal fiction. Why? Because Cardiff Administrative Court says you have to stand surety to yourself. Oh, not that I would recommend you use something that doesn't belong to you in order for you to identify yourself. But even if you do that, what is it that they've got? They can't stand there and judge you because you haven't assigned your consent to them as the party standing surety to you to discharge all of those charges that are associated with that legal fiction. You just came along and did the job for them. You take a pound of my flesh, protect my rights, and put them behind this legal fiction, and go and wander yourself and put me in prison for 5.5 years. I'm your guest. So what the point that you're at now really is you're in the big blue, that there is no legal acts and statutes for us to stand and say, not in my name, I haven't got a contract with you. The final annihilation of this presumption is what kindness credits. It's the first thing and it's the last thing. It's the alpha and it's the omega. It's the exemplification that you have got a universal comprehension of how it was that you kept fucking yourself over. And so when you pull out that rock, what you're exemplifying is, I'm not rattling debt line. But I want the thing that you've got in your shop. Why do I want that thing that you've got in your shop? Well, because I think I want that plastic shit. Well, if you've done all of your steps, then you wouldn't even be contemplating putting that shit in your body. You're only thinking about putting that shit in your body because you think that that's all you've got slave token wise. That's what you valued your health at. And said, okay, I don't really want to think about anything else. I'm not going to look for another way through this. I'm just going to take the most convenient shit that I can get and I'm going to pay it with slave tokens. I'm going to let them hack open. Oh, actually, I'm even going to give it open. I'm going to open it for them. I'm going to put my signature against that legal fiction and I'm going to say, thank you very much for my 600 slave tokens a month so that I can pay all of my liabilities to a system that just made themselves void. The gas electricity suppliers, HMCTS, Crown Corporation as a thing, as a nothing, it's completely dissolved itself. That was the securitization of commerce. When we said on the 21st of December about securitizing and preventing the dissolution of UK Government Limited, it was just a nothing. It was a legal fiction, but you know, so many millions of you put your belief in there that we had to hold your libelous mind in there and go, right, okay, let us show you what the dissolution of your belief looks like. Let us show you the dissolution of the placebo effects of the coronavirus. There you go. Let us show you the dissolution of your belief now in the fact that you can even play a game that no longer exists. It doesn't exist. And we've been saying this for so long because what people haven't got the ministering of your mind part is that you create everything that you see around you. So that is what you are actually assigning the consent of. And if you have one iota of an awareness of what that actually is, then you would never ever give it away to anybody else. And you definitely wouldn't exchange that which you are energetic wise for slave tokens. If you have any idea that level of your creational capacity. Now they did. You were a utility transmitting account. So inside the UCC system. Again, it's just a spell. It's just a mechanism and some numbers on the screen. It's a bunch of ledger books and it's one coming in and one going out and the difference between the two. That's it. That's commerce. You all know enough about their system of commerce to then turn around and say, oh, I don't understand this. You understand it so much that you've been crediting it all your life. So now, standing there in the barren, let's say, landscape of what used to be the remnants of adding to the administration of the law, hopefully enough of you can get that now, that it was only me that did it to myself. And when I stopped doing that thing, which was presuming, instead of going and actually finding out, what if I go and arrest a judge? What if I go and restore the rights of a huge building, give it back to the people, and when the police come, I arrest them? What if somebody comes along now and says the number plates that you've got on your car are not valid? Valid according to who? Valid according to the DVLA that you, Mr. Policy Enforcer, don't even recognise when it says this number has been exported. It's got an export tracer on it. So how you got that number associated? Are you joining a previously registered number to a VIN now? Because if that's the case, then every single previous keeper of every single conveyance that has ever been bought and sold is never not the liability holder. How far back can you go before you come to me? So what I'm saying, obviously, to you is the only difference between us and them, first of all, is that they're a bunch of criminals and that they organise themselves. What if a bunch of people who are not criminals organise their shit and determined for themselves, right, okay, well, there's 22 million shares, if we were playing that game of commerce, there for water. Have we not got people in our community who already work through that water company, that private corporation that puts fluoride and chlorine in our supplies? Go to them, would you like a better occupation than that? Would you like a better way of being able to support and sustain yourself? Well, I only do this because I've got to pay my bills. I poison your water because I'm a debt slave and I need to pay my bills. That's what you just told me. If I could, would you? I hope people are taking notes. If I could, would you? For me, the biggest closing question that everybody needs to learn while you're dealing with people who are so conditioned in being told what to do by others, don't tell them what to do. Don't expect these people who have always followed orders to be suddenly a decision maker in their own lives and take the steering wheel of their own life and drive it somewhere nice instead of to hell. Don't expect it. Hello, knock on the door. I'm Minister of Event. I'm here. I've got the council tax bill in the name of Minister of Events property. And I'd like to know whether you would like to do the same for your gas, electricity, gas, and other debt. You're Minister of Event, right? I'm the secured party creditor of all things shit. And I'm here to restore your rights to something nice. Now, if they turn around and say to you, oh, well, you know, if I've got to do this job because I've got to pay these bills, if I could show you a way, would you do? And is there anything other than what you've just objected to stopping you from saying yes today to freedom? Oh, well, I'll have to ask the missus. Okay, let me make an appointment and let's ask your missus together. When's she back? Why don't I come in and have a nice cup of tea? This is the whole package, start to finish. You have got something for every single scenario and every single possible presumption that is ever been presumed, because you know this structure from the inside out, upside down. You might not know. What the problem is that you don't believe you do. They've made you all believe that the legal system is something very complex and you need to have a lawyer. And then they've got, look at this definition, look at this definition, look over here, the Black's Law Dictionary, go over here, the UCC, go over here, contract law. Do you know what? We put a big circle around it and we say jog on to all of it, because I do not credit anything that creates slavery. That's it. And I can't meet you at your mind on there. Call me a cult, whatever you want to call me. Absolutely. You can't put a label on this. Why? Because I haven't put a label on myself. So how could you possibly presume the jurisdiction or presume that you know what it is that who I am, what I'm doing here, and whether or not I've got a right to or not? So the exemplification that occurred on Thursday has put us into a position where most people's minds have never been to before, which is that this was like the last layer of people's belief. Surety. Okay, yeah, I've got a very good understanding or comprehension of this administrative system, trust law and ecclesiastical law and canon law and all of this bullshit. And now what? If you cannot assign your consent to a third party to stand surety to you, then any system that requires that definition of surety in order to exist no longer exists. So whatever it is that takes you that long to be able to assimilate that you are me to yourself is the day that you'll get up and decide and determine for yourself that, first of all, I need a straw man. I need to take the thing that is two-dimensional, that I know exists, but I can't put my hands on it. There it is. You've created it into 3D. The only difference now is that you can now draw the line and disassociate yourself from that legal fiction. Some people can do it with a piece of paper, not a problem, never use that name again. Some people don't even need a piece of paper and they've just severed that contract in their own mind. Some people need to see it in 3D to be able to disassociate themselves from it and you know, laugh at themselves and say, bloody hell, you know, I've been having myself on all these years that I am this and this is me and this is my claim and this is what I've got and this is how big my bank account is and so what we all obviously became really good at was knowing that we know nothing. We know everything about nothing. And so when you get up to that point and the people come and say, okay, so what's your secret? Nothing is the secret. How you made yourself into a nothing is the secret. And now there's nothing secret about nothing. And then that makes you know everything about nothing. So all of that fear of not knowing what it is I need to do next, nothing is the answer. You need to do nothing. You need to stop being a nothing. And you need to stop believing that there is something to know about nothing. You just stop doing that thing that makes you imply yourself to be a nothing. And so what they have done really for us, and we thank the lovely Stella at Cardiff Administrative Court every single moment of my day over the weekend for exemplifying that which we knew. We know that really you cannot assign your rights to an other, but more importantly, why should I have to? If this system of commerce didn't exist, then I would never be presumed to be a nothing, and I would never be presumed to be assigning something that I didn't know I had to something that is a nothing to render me a nothing. And I want to know the ins and outs of that nothing. Well, it's just 3 little circles on a screen on a piece of paper, and that's you, you, and you being laundered by your own mind and serving yourself up on a plate and investing in crediting a belief of trapped energy. And so the minute that you stop doing that, you see another layer and another layer and another layer of this hallucination that you've been creating for yourself. Yes, okay, it's a bit drastic when you get to the first layer and you see everybody else still doing it, but then you look at that and you say, you know, it's not everybody else, it's still a part of me. I'm only seeing these things reflected in these apparitions of other parts of me, as I am as well, doing these things because there's still parts of me that haven't got this yet. So which part of me is it that I need to deal with in order for me to stop seeing these things appear real in my close vicinity, and then turn around and go, oh my God, I'm really stressed because people are not doing these things. No, you are not doing the thing that you are required to do. And that's why you are actually creating these apparitions to remind you, you haven't quite got that bit nailed yet. That's when you take a universal responsibility for everything that you see and everything goes on around you. And that is what you were scared of. It's not something separate to you. The administrative system is not something separate to you. It's something that you, each and every single one of us, created through the implied presumption of fear of what? The unknown. Well, the unknown is thoroughly known. We've known it inside out, upside down, and we know even now where the door is. Do you want to open the door and go in there again? You can't, in actual fact, because the representatives of that representation, that apparition, just said you can't come in. They haven't got a door to let you through. And that is your collective consciousness now screaming at you in a voice that you cannot ignore any further, to say that the thing that you believed, in order for me to exist in this scary part of your mind as something that had the control over you, you can't use it anymore. You can't use surety, stood by, a third party. You haven't got a government to blame anymore. You can just only blame yourself. Okay, well, what have I got to blame myself for? Nothing. You've got absolutely nothing to blame yourself for, because there is nothing going on here. And even the, let's say, the most dense apparitions that appear the most real, I've stood there and said to you, can't do nothing. You cannot do nothing. It's a double negative. You cannot do that thing that is you acting as a nothing to assign your rights to another nothing in this structure of nothings. I just shut the bloody door. In fact, I can't even find the handle anymore. And so what came instead, when the realization that what I felt like there's all this time is that I've been standing in the doorway, to stopping you trying to go in there, or pulling you out as you go past, or grabbing the revolving door as you're swinging around. Well, I'm here. Please, people, stop putting your ego on display, right, as you fly around that revolving credit facility. I know the definitions of this, and I know what it is you mean. Stop presuming one another and just deal with your own shit. It's as you going flying around in that door of presumption, the real deal's happening. And so when somebody just came in here and said, I'm from 1367 and I've had sex change, you're out. Why? Because I know what I'm told. And so that individual who's got a load of people there at that particular that link was kicked out of the room immediately. Why? Because we don't do presumption. And this is far too, whether it's I'm indoctrinated myself with this to the degree where it makes you like a rock. I don't know, but it's when you stop presuming. You're on mute when you come in the room. No, when you stop presuming stuff and just stand with yourself, just okay, let the universe show me. I'm not going to do. Why? Because I know that I am creating what I am projecting. So I don't buy into what somebody else is creating as their projection. And that they comes across as she's a hard-nosed bitch, a hard-ass bitch I got called this week. And if that's how you find me, I'll look at yourself. Is that how you perceive me because that's what it is that you need, or is that your rebuttal protection of your ego to say, oh no, I don't want to go there, I don't want to hear those things, she's a hard ass bitch. No, this is just the truth. And this is what the platform is. It's the platform for the truth. And now, after what happened on Thursday, all of that charade that people still invested their belief in, I know now that you can all see it's been nothing. So that is why we've arranged to have this meeting on the 5th of November. We need to get together with our strong men for the very last time and go and burn them outside the House of Parliament. So I expect it to be, well, a great big fucking pyre, to be honest with you, of about 70 million strong men, all with their birth certificates around their neck, sending the message home to yourself that you have exterminated. That somebody said to me a long time ago that you need to kill off your strong man. And I took the piss out of him and said, you're a lunatic. If you think that you can kill something, that's not real. And I now look back on that statement and realise that for those people who do have that association and connection with that name, that legal fiction for them is real. And for those people, and the people who've done these steps, that step where you go and peacefully surrender your own strong man, the feedback that we've had from people is complete liberation. One woman went up and did 2 up in Leeds the other day, and she's absolutely on fire. That is a spell. If we know how all of this works, or have an idea how all of this illusion works, or just see what happens if I do this and I focus my attention and create something that I want to see, instead of focus my attention on the things I don't want to see and see those manifest instead, then if that is true, then why am I even considering to hold on to something that causes me fraud on my soul? Why am I holding on to something and saying, oh, if I put my legal fiction in there, you're going to get all of my equitable rights? And actually, truth be known, you haven't got any equitable rights. You haven't even got any rights that can be written. The minute that you start to write the rights, they're wrong because you define them. If nobody had ever sat down and said, right, we've all got a right to write what it is that we believe, did I need to establish the facts? Why did I need to have to establish a fact that I had a right? I only must have had to write that I've got these rights if there was somebody somewhere, presuming that I didn't. The same thing with the evidence of life form. It's not that I think that I need a piece of paper to tell me I'm alive. The very fact that it says evidence of life would suggest that there is somebody somewhere pretending that you're not. So who is it that's pretending somewhere that you're not alive? Oh, it was me. It was you yourself and you as me. Saying, hello, I'm the Vatican debt slave. Treat me like a dead thing. Now, Obviously, I'm not condoning what it is that's being done to us, but what I'm saying is that it is not somebody else who does it to us. It is me doing it to me. So when they say, who am I assigning my rights or my consent to, the answer is go and have a look in the mirror. What do you call that thing looking back at you? Oh, I had a very good funny conversation with somebody last night, briefly on the Facebook about this. Go and have a look. What do you call that? Well, I call it this legal fiction. Do you really? Have you ever? That's not what you call yourself. That's what somebody else called you, and you picked it up and said, "Oh, that's my name." You were all of us. Every single one of us calls ourselves me. And so let me be a collective, that minister of energy and matter and movement as one thing, and move together to restore the rights that we didn't even know that we've got onto the way of thinking. It's not about, going and even securing these buildings and evicting these people. That is an exemplification of the restoration of your own mind that you have got then, let's call it the balls, but the standing to go forth and evict on behalf of those people who don't know that there isn't anything to know about nothing, who still credit this belief of nothing by paying their energy into their pot. And that is the only benefit of going and kicking these squatters out of these buildings. What is obviously better is creating the structure of the Ministry of Remedy in your own community. But in order for you to do that, you need to introduce this to, first of all, yourself. What did I do? Went on this website, put my information in there, press send. What is actually going on there? Nothing. Unless you go and you actually exemplify this, if you go and you take that red paper, that assignment of consent, stick it in an envelope with a covering letter and all of the details about the legal fiction, and you put a return to sender address on it and stamp it, it's not going to get delivered. It's not going to get signed for. Why? Because in your exemplification of, look what I know, and I know if I do this and I do this and Postmaster General and blah, 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 and I do, I'm back in their system again. I believe, because I read it from the Vatican, if I put 2 dots here, it means something else. Really? Does it really? Write your own glossary. And then tell us what it means. I mean this. When I say this, I mean this. And you know what? I don't even need to explain what it is that I mean, because you all know what it is that I mean when I say it. Because there's absolutely no fannying around, there's no presumption. That's it. And so you become that which you really are. And you don't have to hide away from it. You don't have to cover it up with a mask. You don't have to pretend to be something that you're not, because you are more than enough. And it is that belief that you have been not investing in crediting over and above the one that's flashed up on your screen. You need to look like this, you need to look like that. Turn your fucking screen off. Go outside and have a look at what it is that you have created from the power of your mind. You can walk through this 5D hologram and compound it into something that you can actually pick up and touch and smell and taste and the rest. So don't ever think that you can't do one of these steps. Don't ever think that you've got to go and perform some obligation to somebody somewhere. You don't. Just to yourself. What obligation have you got to yourself? Be me. Be the me that you came here to be. And most of us don't even know what that is. So start with something really, really simple. What was it that you were supposed to be? Happy. Okay. Pick a happy thought then. Pick a flower up and just build that amazing appreciation of the fact that you, as this manifestation in this form that can communicate and connect with its outside environment to the degree that it thinks that it's looking at a flower or smelling it. If you can kid yourself to that degree, then and manifest this into such a valid, in abbreviated commas, apparition of appearing real, then what happens if you assign your belief and your ability to be able to create, and you put it into something else, such as an organisation that keeps the water clean? Well, then Mount and did that. And that's what you're actually doing. You are, these steps now are not about assigning my consent or protecting me from commercial systems. They've gone. They're hanging on in there by the eyelashes for the people who still credit that belief. All the thing you've got to do is to withdraw your credit, like you're going to the bank. There is the bank, it's Crown Corporation, it's represented by those pieces of paper or that pound sign symbol, and I am taking my credit out of there and I'm putting Casey in front of it. And because the structure that you've all been using, as you all know, has been the rock anyway. The rock's been backing the kind of the slave token, and like our lovely Emma Van in Spain was explaining to the people at the beginning of the call, is that you keep nothing. You keep nothing out of that nothing piece of paper. Why should you? You can't get something real out of a hypothetical hypothesis system of presumption, can you? Of course it's going to have a piece of paper that represents slavery. Why would you convert your energy into that? Is what I say to people when I give them a rock. Why would you want to wrap the resource what gives you life and sustenance and stability and surety? Everything you need is you're standing on it. Or I've got no standing. You're standing on your resource. You're standing on Elas, the rock of light. And it's back in your hands. Now, most people, they get that bit, they get right, okay, I know that the commodities on the stock exchange, the gas, the water, the electricity, all of that was what was being used in this game of commerce to back my slavery with. I was assigning my share of it to the legal fiction and then cutting myself out of the dividends. Now, what if I take away the paper that's wrapped my rock, cut it with the scissors, and there it is. And I put it back in my hand and I say to somebody else, take whatever you need out of that. Because I did. I exercise my right of use. This is what this rock represents to me. It represents me exercising my rights and my freedoms without any paper fiction getting in my way. And if it does, I just cut it. And as you, the more you share this with more people, the more your reality of your immediate vicinity looks very different. You might feel like you're, sat on your own on a beach somewhere, thousands and thousands of miles in time away from the people who you connect to, but you're not. You're completely connected to source, and the fear of loss of material things is when you remove that, when you empty yourself of that fear of loss of material gain and wealth and shiny things, and you put that rock there instead, it's the love really that replaces the universal love force frequency, replaces that massive yearning gap that could never be filled by a whole zillion lifetimes of shiny plastic shit. And we all know that, really. So the only person, I can call you person now, the only thing that, and the only thing that stops you, obviously, is you doing that. And what happens when you do that is there's another feeling waiting. And I believe this is why, this is what 5D is. So really is 5G, it's gamma frequency, and you moved into the fifth dimension of knowing, of realization, of awareness, of frequencies that you can experience, such as we're supposed to be able to experience pastel colors or neon colors, and until certain periods in our evolution of our DNA. So if our DNA is already copyrighted by the creator, and we haven't got the right to appoint the National Health Service to stand surety to us in our healthcare, for example, then why are we giving it to them? I cannot give you my DNA because it is not mine. It belongs to me instead. Well, what do you mean it belongs to me? Well, yeah, I'm under non-disclosure, and my DNA is already part of a universal experiment under universal law. And because it's not mine, I can't give it to you. Now, who are you saying that to? Yourself. Go stand in front of the mirror and say to yourself that I've got no obligation of performance with you, literally you, that plural thing that I think separate of me. I haven't got a contract with that anymore. So by taking those effigies to Parliament on the 5th of November, you really are burning your mask. You are, cremating everything that is represented by the commercial system. Whether it's something that you think going to float your boat or not, all I can tell you is that there'll be no boats left afloat if you do that. And obviously that is the end of mercantile law, exemplified in the way that really has been the story long told. That, how do you destroy Parliament? Well, Guy Fawkes, why do you put Guy Fawkes on a bonfire? Why do you build an effigy of a strong man and burn it? Because you've been conditioned for this. This is nothing out of the normal. We've all been used to getting ourselves a Guy Fawkes, stuffing it full of straw and sticking it on a pyre. And that's because you've already done this. It's already been done. And you're just along for the ride now. It's like watching a HD movie with your Bobby Nogs on in a 3D cinema, everything looking real, and now you are the script writer, the director. Get to it. Because what is waiting for you is another dimension of experience and feelings, responses. This is you evolving into me as the minister of and the manifester of your own matrix, if you want to call it that. So, has anybody got any questions? Have you all gone to sleep?
Nope.
Okay, has anybody got any questions then? Okay, that's cool. We're going to do something that is long past due doing on Monday. And the restoration of rights of the right mind is going to be exemplified in a way that only they can determine for themselves. You've got a really, really amazing amazing bunch of people in your vicinity. And I suggest that you connect to everybody who was on the email link. You were put into groups on the emails for specific purposes. Well, just to communicate with a specific purpose because of the areas that you were in and things like that, and the kind of things that you've got up to between you all already. Any help that I can be, going in the idea with the kindness credits exchange. Go to these shops, give them a rock. They look at you like you're insane. You say, "Do you not accept kindness credits?" They say, "No, you're fucking bonkers." And you say, "Okay, well, what do you want instead?" "What do you mean, what do I want?" "Well, what do you want?" "Oh, my dog's just flicked its plate across the floor here. We know what you want." You have to wait. What is it you want?" "Well, I don't want fucking rocks." "Okay, but you want slave tokens instead?" "Yeah, what kind of slave tokens would you like?" You like your slavery, do you?" When you put a rock in someone's hand, it is a complete icebreaker, literally. It's the last thing that anybody is going to expect in their day. They're going to go home, they're going to tell their wife or husband or partner or children, "There's some crazy man or woman came in the shop today and gave me a rock and asked me, I don't know about kindness credits." And so what actually happened there is you created interest, curiosity, and attention in somebody's mind that's made them, as you walked out of there, whatever the outcome of it is, they've gone on the website to Google kindness credits just to see what kind of lunatic farm that you've escaped from, even if it doesn't matter, does it? You know yourself that I haven't got an ego. They can't call me anything that I already call myself. So why am I bothered if somebody's going to call me a dipshit? I'm not the one standing there 36 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours a week for 600 quid a month to pay the slave master with. So, call me what you want, but you can't call me that. You can call me whatever you like. You can't call me Vatican debt slave if I've got a rock in my pocket. So, kindness credits, like I said, it is the beginning and the end of all of this. It is just the infinite loop of your energy being kept clean and out of commerce. And the more 5 hours a week that we get, the more people that you go and introduce this to, the quicker your community is going to build around you. And then you're not going to turn around and say, "Well, I had to go to Tesco's." No, instead of me going to Tesco's, I thought, right, fuck it, today I've got to go to Tesco's normally. So here I am on my usual convenient bullshit life track. Get up, go to Tesco's. And so instead, how many hours do I spend in Tesco's a week? Work that out. That's how many doors, how many hours I'm going to convert to door knocking. Or going into the business, the health food shop, and saying, "Hey, have you not heard about kindness credits?" "Oh, no, I haven't heard about kindness credits. What do you want?" "Well, I'm only in here because of kindness credits. Discharged all of my liabilities so I can come and shop here instead of Tesco's." So I thought, because I have to do something, obviously, for kindness credits that just come freely. I have to give 5 hours a week explaining this to somebody and giving you this rock. So, what are you giving me that rock for? "Well, I'm going to pay you with a rock." "No, you're not going to pay me with a rock. We don't accept rocks." And I had a really funny experience with 3 of them came over. "Well, no," because they see me coming again. "No, we don't take rocks." "No, I know you don't take rocks, but I've got to give you a rock." "No, not accepting a rock. Just humour me a minute. Take the fucking rock." "No, we can't." Look, she's trying to pay me with a rock again. Come over. We don't pay it. I can't give us a rock. Just you hold the rock there. Now what am I doing? Surety. Give him the rock to hold. And you want slave tokens, right? Give me back the rock. Give him the slave tokens. Now you give him the slave tokens. Looked at me and brought his other friend over. "Now you're going to take the rock, aren't you?" "Yeah, but we can't keep the rock." "Well, you can keep the rock if you knew what to do with it, but I don't want to cause you a liability. So give me the rock back and I'll convert it into those slave tokens, but I'm giving you a receipt that says 1 plate of food, 1 kindness credit. So you have got the option, if you want, to put that piece of paper through your business instead of the till receipt, and you can pay the tax, like me, with rocks. Have a lovely day. So it doesn't really matter what they think of you as you walk away, because you just kept your hands out of commerce. And so what you did is you exemplified to yourself that you will not accept what the definition of convenient is any longer. We'll take truth over convenient bullshit every day. And that's the first step, really, of introducing the kindness credits. For those people who haven't got any slave tokens and they put their 5 hours a week in, they could come to the pot, and for the obviously they've created this pot. They've gone and introduced it to the people. The people have gone and said, right, okay, there's 600 slave tokens I'm saving a week, or 6 grand. Here's 10% of that. And the people who have been doing their 5 hours can come then and say, right, I need organic food. I've already got my mortgage discharged, got my rent covered. I've got the water, gas, electricity discharged. And so now I need some organic food, please. I've done my 5 hours a week. What is backing my rock? Knocking on doors as minister on event and passing my kindness credit account forward to another. That's what I do for a living. And that's what I'm doing here. And so right up until just recently, we didn't have, we weren't taking 10% of anybody. We put the trust in the people who can put your 5 hours in. But instead, people are so consumed with, it's still that tied to the slave tokens, that they're there slaving away. It can't be free. I'm going to buy my way out of freedom. There's a load of money. We don't want your money. We want your 5 hours. We want you to send us a video of you. Here's my 5 hours, and there's 50 people that I've just brought into the community. He does plumbing, he does building, he does roofing, he does water cleaning and purification. She's a teacher. She's a blacksmith. And what have you got? You're a community. Immediately, 5 people, that's all you need. We want to stand it, you just share the hours, and you open a shop, open your own shop, put some kindness credits on the side of your car, put some of the honey and the oil and the wine in the back of the car, and go and give it to people. Well, that I brought you kindness credit hampers. All the money that people are not putting into the system now. Go and buy 5 organic veg boxes and go door to door in the poorest areas of your town and give them to somebody and say, this is from kindness credits. I can do this because I did this. I went on the website, put my information there, and I press send. That's it. We don't need hours and hours and hours and one-to-ones and millions of Zooms and all of that for people to know what it is that I did. Well, you want me to tell you what it is? Well, I need you to tell me what it is that I did. You put your name in a website, press send is what you did. Can you not go and explain that to somebody else? No, I need to understand it. Well, that's it. I haven't got anything else to tell you, especially now. I could, we've done hours and hours of surety and ecclesiastical law and all of that bullshit. We've given you hours of administrative systems, codes, and what hypothesis it is. And now we can't even do that. So it is very simple to explain to somebody else how this works. Here's my rock. And I discharged all my liabilities by putting that back in my hands and taking my belief and crediting another currency. And that's it. Has anybody got any questions about that?
I have a couple of questions.
Is it about that specific topic about kindness credit?
No,
Why?
not really.
Why?
Because it took me this long to think up the questions from when you asked before.
Oh. Why are you spending your time thinking of questions instead of going and actually doing it, is my question.
Well, it's knowing how to do it.
You go on the website. Which bit have you not done yet?
I haven't done anything because I'm like a branny.
It doesn't matter. You're timeless and ageless, so you can't use age as an excuse because that doesn't exist either.
No, not a granny, a branny, as in brand new to this.
Oh, I thought you said I'm a granny.
No. I'm old enough to be.
That'd be you 010.
I thought you were using ageism on us. Sorry, love. What was that? So you're a what?
A branny, as in brand new to this.
Oh, branny. Right. Okay, you're brand new to this. So have you been on the website?
Yes, I've been loitering for a long time, trying to understand everything.
Right. So now you've just listened to me for the last God knows how many minutes I was waffling on there. Now you know that there's nothing to understand.
Hello?
You lost.
Yeah, my internet's on the blink, so I didn't get anything if you were saying anything.
I didn't say anything. That was a silent close.
Okay.
This is what I teach you. It's a silent close. Okay, so I made a statement that said, what did I just say to you there?
It's a silent close.
And before that, I said that you now know there's nothing to understand.
I'm sorry, I'm not catching everything you're saying.
Because there's nothing to understand. Can you understand that there is nothing to understand yet?
Well, I saw that video of you and you were on the beach and you were painting your kindness credits on the rocks.
Yes.
So, somebody comes, they give me their euros, I give them a rock and they buy their coffee. So my question was going to be, what do you do with the euros?
What do you mean? What do I do with the euros? I buy the coffee with it.
Well, they've given you the euros in exchange for the rock. So you
Right.
now have the euros. So what do you do with them?
I buy the coffee with it at 50 cents a cup.
Right. Okay.
So the coffee, instead of the coffee costing €4.50 a cup, which is how much it costs here for an organic coffee, because of the tax and the insurance and all of the charges, the electricity, the license, all of those things. But the actual cost of the organic coffee is 50 cents a cup. That includes transportation costs from Guatemala, and it also goes to a community for cleaning their water there. So a little bit of energy.
So what's this thing that I've about taking money out of circulation?
Right. Yeah, you convert any surplus energy that you've already converted into slave tokens, you convert into another currency and keep the slave tokens out of circulation.
Right. Okay.
So instead of let's say you work, I don't know how many hours you work a week, and you collect 1,000 slave tokens a month. You're converting your energy into slave tokens and then investing in the corporations by giving them £600 a month in circulation for your charges for the things that you should have discharged. Now, if you've wiped out all of those charges for 5 hours of your energy a week, then there isn't any of those slave tokens in circulation, is there? You don't have to work 37.5 hours a week to get them. So they've lost your energy there. And you're not converting your energy into slave tokens to put them back in circulation as slave tokens, because it's your energy that we're talking about.
Right. Okay.
Do you comprehend that?
I do.
what some people are doing, which you probably had on some of the other videos, they one of our events who does 5 hours a week for us diligently and more every week. She went to the health food shop, to the organic food shop, introduced kindness credits to them. She took her kindness credit note and worked out how much it was going to be when she got to the counter and gave them the note. And the woman there said, well, we don't accept that. So, okay, I'll call my bank. So she told me that that's where she was going to go. It was giving me a rough idea of the time. And she called up and said, hi, I'm just with this organic food supplier. And they want to convert the kindness credits back into their locally accepted tender. Put me on the phone. Hello, this is kindness credits. I understand that you want to convert the kindness credit note back into fiat currency. What currency would you like? Pounds. Okay. So I'll just give you a card number that will convert this person's energy back into pounds for you so that you can see that it's like for like. That's step one, to introduce kindness credits into your community at point of sale. The lady's then given, the woman who owns the shop is then given a bank card number, and she puts it in a POS machine, and hey presto, slave tokens appeared in her bank account. The Emma then leaves the note with her and says, look, if you write on the back of the note all of your liabilities like I did and give it back to me next week when I come, if your liabilities, let's say 600, 700, 10,000 a month, whatever it is that I have put in my basket is going to be worth that to you, because you're going to exchange, you're going to give me the note back and I'm going to take those things in that shopping basket in exchange. So if you, whether you write 10,000 on the back of there, then suddenly your products have got the true value, which are priceless really, because it is priceless for people to be able to access their resources freely. And that's what you're doing. You're discharging their libelous mind and giving them back a clean one. And all they've given you is 80 quid's worth of food that you weren't even able to afford before you did your steps on the website. And all you've done is shown them, exemplified it. I'm only standing here. I'm only sitting here because of kindness credits. I'm only using this facility that I've got to be able to communicate with you because of kindness credits. I've only got a roof over my head because of kindness credits. Has anybody got any questions? No? Does anybody want to tell us anything exciting?
I've got, how do I pay a landlord in kindness credits?
You take his liabilities instead. You discharge his mortgage for him, or you take gas, water, electricity and council tax. You say to them, look, you want me to pay you £800 a month. What are you going to do with that money? Have a conversation with somebody is what you're off to do. Oh.
All right, that's totally impossible because it's such a big corporation. You can't get through to a human being.
Right, okay.
All you get is letters demanding, and then I just end up paying them in slave tokens.
Is it a private landlord, or is it a council or a sheltered housing or a housing association?
It's a private, but they're coming under the, well, they're calling themselves a social landlord, but it's just like a big business. It's called Your Housing Association.
Right, so they're using social property. So what they've done is it's the council selling off or capitalizing on social housing.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not a private landlord. It's a corporation pretending not to be the council. So So those properties have actually been built from the resources and the shares and every brick, every bit of cement. Where did it come from? It came from your share and everybody else's share of this rock. Everything that we see around us has been created from the rock and her resources.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, you do a restoration of rights. The property has got a value, and you send over the longitude and latitude of the property, and we do the rest for you as Big Blue Asset Management. We show you how you do it for yourself, and then you go off and you teach somebody else how to do that. That's all that disclosed to you when you get to that step. But the steps that you have to do before that, which is what gives you the standing in order for you to execute the next step. So you have to do step 1 in order to execute step 2, and so on. So there's no point in jumping in and trying to do step 10, which is to exercise my right to shelter by discharging the charges of it, without doing the other steps first.
Okay, and all the steps are on the website from 1 to 10.
Yeah, those steps 1 to 10, and then 10 is where you're doing your conveyance and your right to shelter, right to convey yourself freely, and your right to shelter.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
I have a question, please.
Yeah, fine.
If, let's say, if I get someone or like my landlord to discharge his mortgage,
Yeah.
and if one day he decides to sell his house, is it possible for him to sell his house after discharging his mortgage?
Let's have a
Would
look.
you-
What incidentally, sell means commerce, doesn't it?
Yes, to get money basically for it,
Okay,
the slave tokens.
So if I never needed slave tokens in the first place, would I ever need slave tokens in the second place? What is actually happening when somebody buys a house? Think about that. What is it you're actually buying?
You're doing an exchange,
You're doing
isn't that it? You give slave tokens and you get the right of use.
Yeah, so you're actually swapping one right of use for another, aren't you? And
Yeah.
there's a long chain, let's say. So let's say there's a number of circles on a piece of paper, and the landlord's property is circle number 1. Why does he want to sell the right to shelter? Well, because he thinks, the shared belief is that we think that we need to have our legal fiction on a title deed, don't we? In order for to give us the right of use. But
I guess people don't feel safe if they don't have their legal fiction title on the paper.
They
for
have
the house.
right of use for perpetuity instead of if you have a title deed, you are a tenant in your own life. You don't own that house, and you don't own the deed upon which it is written.
Even if it's paid off fully?
No, because he doesn't own the legal fiction, does he? That the title deed is in.
Oh yeah.
It's called fee simple. It's called fee simple. You never earn anything because you cannot. What we're doing is we're crediting. What we're doing is we're crediting their legal fiction with our equitable rights. So there's my right to shelter. There's my right to travel freely. That's my car. There's my right to sustain myself. That's my share of the food. There's my right to clean water. That's me crediting Nestle. There's my right to health and well-being. That's me crediting Bill Gates and his COVID shit and his pharmaceutical mates. So what is it that we are crediting is the legal fiction. Is the legal fiction ours? No. Well, why would I keep picking it up and using it then? Oh, because everybody else is. Yes, but everybody else is a tenant in their own life then. You don't actually own anything. What is it that we have? We have the right of use. We own nothing, and we're miserable because we think that we own something, so somebody can come along and take it off us. We sustain ourselves then in a fear of loss. If I don't pay all of these slave tokens and live a life of stress, it's not the money that they're after, it is your energy in a negative frequency that creates this reality the way it is. And so you take that and you say, I've discharged that belief. I've discharged my indebted mind. I can't share that belief with another. And so in that situation where you've got your landlord, you'd say to your landlord, look, you know, I've been paying you now, like all of these years that I've been here, that amount of money. What have you been doing with it? Get a kindness credit claim form out and say, how much do you keep out of that? Do financial logic with him. There's loads of videos about that. Well, I pay that much for my mortgage, that much for my second mortgage, that's for my buy to let. That's me as a big capitalist, capitalizing not only on my own right to shelter, but everybody else as well. But he doesn't know that. He thinks he's a big, he thinks he's an entrepreneur, when in fact he is a revolving credit facility for the slavery system. And so I keep about, I don't know, give me £1,000, I might keep 100 out of it. What about, instead of all of that, instead of you doing whatever it is that you need to do to make that money, to keep all of those things, the rights to those things, and securing them so that nobody can ever come and lay a claim against you by presuming that they belong to an other, because you gave them to an other, which was the legal fiction, and you put them back inside your own structure that you have created to prevent anybody else making a claim against you, because you have stopped claiming against yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I comprehend all that.
Instead of having me pay you £1,000 a month, €1,000 a month, so you can pay those terrorists, how about we just cut out the middleman, cut out the terrorists, and I stay in your property because you've got the right of use of it. You've extended it to me, and I'll give you 5 hours of my time instead, which is you've discharged all of your liabilities. So now having me in your property is now not worth just £1,000 that I was paying you. It's worth whatever you were paying out for your mortgage, the reason why you did another 50 hours a week in a full-time job yourself, and all of that's back in your hand if you want to still carry on doing those hours. Perhaps you probably want to do 20 hours instead of 50 and spend some time with your children.
Yeah, and let's say now let's say he would do that, he would discharge his mortgage, and like you just said, everything he would do, and we would do it, and everything is fine. And then they decide, like, okay, we need to change a house, we need a bigger house, we have more kids now.
Yeah, he swaps the right of use with somebody else, which is what he's doing anyway.
So he has to do the same to them, to offer them the same thing what they offer to him, and that's how he would get another house that he wants for his family, right?
No, he can put up his house on Big Bam and say, right, I want here's my 4-bedroom detached, and I want a 2-bedroom flat, or I need something with an extension, or I've got a community around me now and I want to be able to exercise my right to this property over here. Who's with me, community? Who'd like to come and create a community project over here? You've got all of these people. What you're doing is you're creating a bank of the minds of secured party creditors who realize that by claiming nothing, you have the right of use of everything.
I totally kind of imagine this working with the bigger community with enough people in it. But at the moment, since we're quite small, that would be hard to find who would say, okay, yeah, I know the house. We have the house that you need for your family. You know, we can do that. You know, we can do the exchange.
You're already doing it. You still don't get it. When I go and I buy a house now, and I go and I buy the title, I use my legal fiction. And what am I doing? I'm swapping my right of use of the house that I'm leaving with somebody else to facilitate me swapping the right of use with the person who I'm moving into the house of. I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just exchanging one right of use for another. And so if people can remove the title, the need for the title, what is it that I have? I have the right of use, and it means that I have the right of use instead of I have given away my right of use and bought it back as a privilege and called it a title that doesn't belong to me. That can have charges attached to it if I'm not a good debt slave.
Yeah. And what about a situation where, let's say, I don't have any, I do not own a house, or I don't even have mortgage, I'm renting right now. And if I would like to have another house, which like in this commercial world, we call own a house or get a mortgage, you know, or buy a house in that kind of way. But I don't even have any kind of, not enough slave tokens, not enough kindness credits. I don't have any of that. What's the possibility of getting a right of use of a house?
For you, none, because you just told me that you still think that you still need kindness credits or slave tokens in order for you to exercise your right to shelter. You've already got a right to shelter. You've got a roof over your head, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're coming into need or greed.
Okay. Okay.
So
I get you. I get you.
I've already got a right, I've already exercised my right to shelter, and I look at something else, and I'm led into temptation of thinking, oh, that nice big shiny thing there with lots of windows is going to make me really happy in there. I need to go and compromise my soul in order to convert my energy into slave tokens to give to the people who are living in that shiny thing what it is that they want, to compound their slavery as well. Then like it's never going to happen. Unless,
yeah, but let's say if you have more children now and you really need space, it's not because it's shiny and big, but because you do need space, you need more rooms for your children.
That's a different thing. That's a need, isn't it? So if I'm in
That's a need. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
If I'm in a 2-bedroom house and I say, okay, I'm having a baby, I'm going to need an extra bedroom, then I'm going to look at a property, I'm going to find a private seller, and I'm going to go and I'm going to view it, and I'm going to say to them exactly the same thing that I said at the beginning of this conversation, is what you're going to do with that money. Well, I'm going to discharge my mortgage, and then I'm going to remortgage myself again because I haven't got enough money to move on without a mortgage. So I've got to wait and see if I get the mortgage coming through. Okay, well, do you want me to talk to my asset management company about discharging your mortgage in exchange for the right of use of your property?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're just doing the same thing that you're doing for people with their electricity and gas and water. It's the same thing that you're doing with their mortgage. And if you're renting a property already, then obviously the landlord he's got somewhere to live anyway, so he's got his right to shelter. So he's going to have a buy-to-let mortgage or a remortgage on his own property, and that's why he's stressed off the clock every month to make sure that you're paying his rent, because without your rent, he's going to lose not only the house that you're occupying, but the one that he's stumped up as surety to for the second mortgage. You've just discharged 2 mortgages by him extending the right of use to you for 5 years, for example, or 25 years. The property that I've got the right of use of in Samos was given to me because the bank was going to steal her house off her if I didn't do something, if somebody didn't do something. So I said, right, if I can stop the bank from stealing your house, then I need 5 years right of use of one of the apartments downstairs. And in exchange for you giving me that, I'll stop the bank. So she did.
Yeah.
I'm not actually in that property. I'm in another property. And she rents out the other property that she was too scared to do anything with. There's 3 apartments sorry, 2 apartments downstairs. Well, the third one, but it's not done yet. She was at the workshop. And she was too scared to use either of them. Because she was convinced that the bank was going to come one day and steal it off her. And what did I do? Well, I took away her fear and I swapped it for some courage. That's what you're doing.
Mm. But you wouldn't be able, we wouldn't be able to do anything with someone who wants to have slave tokens in their bank account, and that's it.
They haven't got any. Listen, they've only got slave tokens in their bank account if you keep giving them to them as a tenant. If you keep converting your energy into slave tokens, then you can't turn around and say, look, this is my legally accepted tender. I got paid in rocks, so I've got to pay you in rocks. What? I've got to pay you in these rocks. Each one of these rocks is worth the same as one piece of paper. This piece of paper is worth the same as the 1,000 quid that I was giving you. In fact, it's worth 10 times that. Well, how? Well, all you've got to do is take the piece of paper, write all your liabilities on the back and give it back to me, and I'll exchange that for the right of use of your property. I'm standing surety to you.
Is this possible to do in other countries as well, or is just kind of
No,
England
it's not possible to do it in any other country.
Okay, like America as well, not
I'm
possible in
joking
that?
with you. Honestly, I expect it more seriously.
I thought there were people in Spain and Australia.
There is, and India, and I'm actually sitting in Greece.
Yeah.
The people in England are very slow on the uptake. Finally, they've got there. America and Australia and Canada are just coming on board now. But India, I mean, I have thousands of people already in the trust in India. There's 1.3 million people here in Greece. There's about 10 to 20,000 of you now in England. There's 22 million across the world who are involved with ULC in various ways. And so I don't know how big you think that you need a community to be in order for this to work. You are your own community. Just communicate with yourself and go and say, right, what am I going to do today? I'm going to jump out of bed and I'm going to go and knock on as many doors as I can, or I'm going to do a pop-up shop on the side of the road with a load of rocks. I've discharged all of my own liabilities. I've still been working in the slavery system, and instead of me putting in the 1,000 quid, I've got 1,000 quid in my pocket. I'm going to go and buy somebody some organic food, introduce kindness credits into my community through the shop that I'm going to go and invest in. I'm now their creditor, and I'm going to go and take that food and give it to the people who haven't got any. Because I've got nothing better to do. Nobody has than that.
I was thinking a lot, but I don't know, it's kind of sometimes things are hard to get into our heads. My aunt, for example, now is selling her house here in England, and she's splitting with her partner, and they're selling their house, and they want to split the money and go back to Lithuania and buy something like a small piece of land with a little house there, and live there. And I was like, oh, how could we do this, for her if we could? But I just don't know how that would work in Lithuania, how they would even do. East Europe, it's a bit harsh with mentality to go through with this kind of thing. I don't know.
Everybody thinks that their situation's special. It's not. Your uniform commercial code fucks every single one of us equally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the fact. That's the fact. Yeah.
That's it. And so what's happened on Thursday meant that none of that. You've got an exemplification. You've got you can now turn around and say to anybody who says that I want to sell my house. Actually, you can't sell your house. I'm really sorry, because you can't capitalize on your right to shelter. You can swap it, but you can't sell it.
Yeah.
If you sell it, you're breaking the law. And what you're doing, you're actually compounding slavery. So I'm obliged to uphold the law, give you a terrorist ticket for even thinking that.
Yeah.
Now, in Lithuania, the same as any of these other Middle Eastern bloc countries, if like I said, I'm in Greece, and everybody in Greece said, oh yeah, you can do that in England. I said, well, actually, everybody in England said you can't do that here. That's why I thought I'd come here. Because at least you've got your food rolling down your street and I can just pick it up and say, that, here you go, I'll swap you that for that. Oh yeah, then when we did it in Ikaria, oh, where's Samos? You can't do it here. You can do it in Ikaria, but you can't do it in Samos. Okay, we'll do it in Samos, show you there. And now, then when I was doing it over here, I said to people in England, that, why don't you try this? And they said, oh, you can do it over there in Greece, but you can't do it here. Unfortunately, some people didn't say that, and they said, you know what, we're going to trust what it is that you've said and ourselves, and we're going to try it. And then look what happened. Bang! Smashed it in the Admiralty Court, smashed the belief mechanism, splashed the COVID, and then we had people getting on planes, flying here without any masks or vaccinations, with their own private medical exemption testing certificate.
Yeah, that was amazing with the Greece. The 1367 went there and back, and it was amazing. I always say to my ministers that I'm in a community, say we need to try to go to Ireland. Ireland is just there, it's close. I kind of feel safer going there and testing this and educating them at the same time. But we need to go and do the Ireland trip, you know.
Well, all you have to do is book yourself a ticket, love, and tell me what day you're going, and I will give you the paperwork. That's it. You
Yeah.
don't need anybody to go with you. It's good to have a second party to stand as a witness. But even that, you know, they can't, what they've done, and I don't think you get the magnitude of what it is that's happened on Thursday. The whole structure of their presumption has collapsed. And it will only remain, like you just said, I feel safer. It will only remain as something that you feel that you need to be safe from for as long as you continue to believe it to be real. And then when you've got rid of all of that, then there's something else waiting for you that I can't even describe, the feeling that that awaits. It really is indefinable. There is no hesitation, there's no fear, there is no resentment, there's no expectation, there's just this fullness that I can only try to describe as complete contentment and satisfaction, which is something that I know that is why people sell their houses, why people break up with relationships, why people feel dissatisfied and discontented, because of this apparition of that's what you need this golem, come to me my precious, what this shiny thing in the shit, come and wade through this shit and pick it up and find that, you know, you can't eat it. You crush the potatoes on your way through to grab the shiny thing, and now you're sitting there starving. You know, it's not, all we can say, draw a big circle around it and say, if you can find anything worth having in there, go and get it. Go and invest your energy in there. Go and exchange your energy for slave tokens and compound your own slavery. And that is your choice to do whatever it is. You're right. That is your right to choose. But people did not know that there was something else that they could have chosen, and that is the fraud. Now it's there as a blazing trail for anybody who wants to go and stand in the steps that have already been laid by these amazing people for you all. And that's down to each individual one as to when they pick up the courage, really, or whether it's the backs against the wall that they have to lose everything in order for them to get off their arse. I don't know. But what is, it's not, you don't have to make the path now, the path's already there. You just got to pick your shit up and leave it, really, actually. Leave your shit where it is and just go and get on the path.
Yeah, I totally see a kind of big, massive awakening happening right now. There's so many people learning all about this. It's just crazy, like myself as well. If not these hard times that started 18 months ago and all this bullshit that came along through media and through everything and pushed us in the corner, I wouldn't have started learning all about the law, the things, the what's right, what's wrong, the corporations, what's the difference, how do we live, why do we live like this, and all that. It's like thousands, I don't know, probably millions are awakening right now.
And it's all over by the time but that's the irony. They're all waking up to this thing that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the funny part. Yeah,
that's really is the funniest bit, because they're like, well, what happened? Well, you slept through the movie, mate. There's another
yeah,
one. Let's go, but you've got to write it now.
yeah.
You know, it is dream a little dream, and if we write if you write the script and you don't allow anybody else to add to it for you, really, because otherwise that is the assignment of consent and the responsibilities. That's when you need something else to stand surety to you other than yourself, and it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I need somebody else to do this. And it's that you know exactly what it is that you're doing, and like I just said, you don't need to do anything except just be. That's it.
Yeah,
And
I
get
guess
out.
people don't know how to be. People don't know how to be. Really, if you speak to someone, they don't know what does it mean. I am, or I live, or I breathe. I have right to have fresh air, without diaper on my face. They don't get it. They don't understand that this is you. You can be. You just can be. You can walk. You can talk. You can travel. Nobody can tell you what to do or where not to go.
Nobody can, and so who is it that's telling you this? It's yourself. Oh, I can't do that, and that's too difficult, and I would if I could, but I can't. Yeah, what? Who told you that? Well, the government. Who's the government? You're the government, the governing of your mind. And so this is what I'm saying, when you move all of those preconditioned presumptions as to the what, the why, the how, and the when, and the wherefore is gone. And I did this by just saying, come on, universe, I'll get out my own way. I obviously I don't know what the fuck it is that I'm doing, because look at the shambles that my existence has created up until this point. Look at what I've compounded into reality, not just for me, but for everybody else to wade through as well. And at that point there, where you acknowledge that you do not know what the fuck it is that you've been doing all this time, then something else can step in. And something else comes in and fills you full of whatever this is that makes you able to do anything that you set your mind to. There is not one rebuttal in existence or one presumption in existence that cannot be rebutted, because it is a presumption. That's it. And if there's any little nugget of any information in any of this that I babbled on about tonight, that would be the bit that I would say, take that bit, that it is you that has presumed all that has appeared real. All of us have.
For me, it was like when I learned about ULCT and all, and what it does and what it means. For me, it was like I realized how I lived up to that point and what it has you know, how it has changed. And I realized how other people live and still live like this, because for me it was like, oh, we live and we're being ruled by somebody. Somebody has to tell us where we can live, where we can travel, can we travel or not. Somebody else will tell us if we are allowed to, you know, if we should pay taxes or give them money. I was always wondering, like, why, if I'm going to do, if I help you with something and you give me a bag of potatoes as a repayment for my help, why somebody else asks me to give them 20 or 30% of my potatoes just for no reason? I put my sweat, my energy into that work, and somebody just comes and asks for a part of it, you know.
Yeah,
And
but
all that,
if you did accept the potatoes and turn round to them and say, well, I've got, how many potatoes do you want? They'd soon go away. That's what I did with the shops. How many rocks do you want? Said to the tax office.
that's a good one, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so yeah. So all that ruling.
You just nail this bit in your head. If you have got any obligation and it's 25% or 23% or 20%, whatever it is, tax, then you are taxable in your legally accepted tender. What did you legally accept? Potatoes, rocks, coffee, right of use of this house. Do you want to come and share the right of use of this house with me for 25% of the year? No, I don't want to live with you. Damn right you don't want to live with me.
Yeah,
But that's
true,
what
yeah.
you know, even on the contracts over here, it says, is this exchange, is this the contract issued for anything other than money? Nobody even looked at that until I pointed it out to them. So if you put 800 euros divided by 8, you've got 100 rocks in there. Put 100 rocks in there. I can't put 100 rocks in there. Why not? Well, give me 100 rocks. There you go. Here's a piece of paper that says 100 rocks. Oh, well, now you're going to bury your rocks. No, give me the piece of paper back. Where's your slave tokens? How much do you keep out of that? All of it. What do you pay your tax with? Rocks. That's kind of
Yeah. Yeah, you just do the currency exchange and that's it.
That's it. All of the energy is kept out of circulation, like the other lady was asking. We've kept all of the energy out of circulation until I go and say, right, okay, these guys over there in Guatemala, they need whatever it is for them to be able to survive. Yes, while we've still got the need, let's say, for petrol, for example, although some of the MFNs have come up with a pretty nifty idea and a very great way of using their warranty card to discharge the charges, even at the even at the petrol pumps. They use it on the public transport. You know, why should you be paying for something that is dischargeable? And the only difference between people who would consider themselves elite and the rest of us is that they know this information. And now you all know this information, so there can be no more elite. And plus that they sank their own battleship by not having anybody able to stand surety to them. You were the underwriters. You were underwriting all of this system with your belief. Now, when you assign your belief away back to yourself, what have they got? Nothing.
True, that's all it takes is the belief. Change your belief.
Absolutely.
Just get rid of that shit. Like I said, with all that ruling, that people think that they have to be ruled, told by somebody else. It's like, why, how that another body, that person, not person, but, you know, walking body, tells others how to live. And when I did this, I was like, I felt like I lost all the rulers that I had in my head before. You know, I lost all the rulers. I was like, I was saying to somebody, I said, you will lose all your rulers. Nobody will rule you. You will be the ruler of your own life, of your own body, of your own mind. There's nobody can tell you where to go, what to do, what you cannot do, who to pay or what, you know, or give me some money or whatever. Nobody can demand anything from you. So that's it. It's like losing, for me it was losing all my rulers.
That's really great. And do you feel free now?
I feel absolutely free, absolutely free. Any letters that come through my letterbox, just cross over, wrong address, send back. That's it. If it's not to Minister Moven, I know it's not for me. I have no right to open those letters. I don't give a damn, you know, and that's it. And I feel free doing that. I feel so free doing that.
That's great. That's really lovely to hear. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And then you go and give that to somebody else, and that's how you. What people said, what do you get out of it? Well, first I got myself free, and I can't really definitely can't put a price on it, but I can't even define what that is. But it just makes me feel amazing, and I want to go and share it. It makes me free to be able to come to share it with you.
Yeah. And like I think in one of the videos you were saying, there was really kind of good explanation. That concept of price, you know, we were so taught and used to give prices to different things. Or, you know, 1 kilogram of potatoes will be two pounds, and, you know, a car will be £1,000. But if you at that moment are really, really hungry, that bag of potatoes, that kilogram of potatoes, it's worth more than that £1,000, you know. It's so the value comes with the need when you actually need it.
Yeah.
So the exchange for you at that moment, when you really, really need to eat, this will be the most valuable thing of your whole life, because that's when you need it.
Exactly.
That's when the value changes. So that value, what we know how to give, you know, £2 for a kilogram of potato and £1,000 for a conveyance. This doesn't exist, because the value comes with the need of something what you really need at that moment. If you need a shelter for yourself and your 3 children, this is the value what you need. It's worth millions, billions, trillions, gazillions, whatever. There is no such a number even, you know, like
Priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's priceless.
And that's what each and every single being is. Their energy is priceless. And if they can get that in their head, because it actually is, even in the administrative system and commercial system, it's priceless. They can't put a price on it. They can put a projected potential worth on you over 100 years on a 100-year bond. But and it's immediately, that's why the birth certificate diminishes the being immediately. And that is the spell that needs to be broken, that curse that we put upon ourselves and procreation, to say that you are now going to inherit my indebted mind. That's what you're really leaving for your children.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need to sever that that inheritance and say, do you know what, looking back of what it was that we've been paying forward to the next generation and leaving behind for them to so-called evolve from, it's just kept them stagnant. It's just kept the energy in that bandwidth of suppressed, negative, desolate void, really, with very minimum outlets for it to be able to create to its real full potential, because it's already been projected. That's what it's worth, you know, but diminished to a formula of somebody else's man-made definition. Well, you know, even if I don't get the full capacity of what it is at that level that is already going on in those mechanisms inside the commercial system, it doesn't matter. You don't need to keep going in there and diving in there and saying that it's down another rabbit hole of their creation and saying, I'm free, I know all of this shit, and still being chained to it. I mean, I had a massive severing, an addictive behavior pattern of converting what I was addicted to before now to this. And I could see that it was still virtual. My life that I was having was still involved more in the virtual elements, let's say, using the electronic hardware and software, investing my time and energy in doing these Zooms and thinking that I'm pulling the people out of Platonic's cave. I was blocking the door. Because what I stopped doing was actually doing the thing that everybody stopped and said, well, how do you come to do that? Oh, well, I'll just stop doing that thing that I was doing and come over here and sit down and talk about it and hypothesize about it instead. And that's why, you know, always be ready to address yourself and say, you know, who the fuck am I kidding here? I'm sitting here hours and hours and hours and talking and talking and talking, and I could have built a fucking empire with all of those hours of kindness credits. But you know, now seeing that return on that investment in what other people might have called virtual, and it virtually happened for many people. But now what we've got is this amazing filtration system that's come through with these amazing people that have done what they just got out of their own way. Most of them didn't really comprehend the magnitude of what it was that they were doing, but they had enough standing in their own right, let's say, to go and say, oh, okay, well, I know this much. Say no more. I've reached my maximum. 1191 saying, say no more, and that was it. Off he went in the rest of the place, because he reached the point where what he'd heard was enough. He knew enough, and he felt confidence enough about going and upholding that which is what he knows to be true. So overcoming all of the preconceptions that we think that we need to know all of this is what I'm saying about, let's save our energy and time now from being invested in, oh, I need more people, I can't do it myself yet, I need 10 people, I need 20 people, I need all of these other, it's unconditional. Universal law is unconditional. It's there in all conditions. In 5G, 1D, 2D, 3D, black, white, gold, silver, green, it's there in all conditions. And so when you actually go and you search for that thing that is unconditional, and it's indefinable, we call it love, but even that doesn't give it the, it doesn't even give it the, it's a very limiting thing, because it also depends on somebody else's the concepts that somebody else has got of what that word means. Go and feel it for yourselves, and that's what these amazing people have been doing, and that's what's waiting for you. So I'm really glad that all of you have come on. Christina, you've got something to ask.
I do have a question. Earlier you mentioned that if you're giving kindness credits and at a store or somewhere like that, you know, small store, and they want their slave tokens, so
Yes.
you can have them call a number.
Yeah, call a helpline number.
Can I have a number? I live in the States.
Right, okay.
And the phone number that I have doesn't seem to go through.
Okay, is it the number that's on the website?
Yes, but it told me it was a collect call when I tried to do it.
What does that mean?
That means I gotta pay for it.
What call collect, is that because it's an international call that you have to pay for the call? Don't you have to pay for your calls anyway?
Well, no, I have a cell phone, so I can call anywhere in America.
Oh, that's why. So it's not
in Canada for free, but if I want to call outside of America, or Canada, then it's a charge.
Yeah, you need an international SIM then. But what you can do, you can do this at point of sale. This is what we've been trying to say all of this conversation. This whole conversation is a conversation about the definition of surety, right? Do you know what surety has been defined as?
No.
Right, you need to have a look at Mercantile Law, Amendment 5. And
Okay.
you need to, the equivalent of that you'll find in UCC. I think it's under promissory note, under negotiable instrument, I think, off the top of my head. For anybody who's still interested in this, in this paper form of their definitions, Cornell University Online has got their UCC spelled out for you and defined. You don't need anybody to do any of this for you. Nobody did this for me. I did it for myself. So I didn't have anybody to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, can you just do this thing that I think I can't do myself? What is it that you did that? And so what is it that's actually going on there is a money exchange. So if you stand there, you've got your money now in your pocket that you have converted your energy into, right? In a normal way, you've gone to work, got your money. And then what you haven't done that is away from what would you class normal debt slave behavior is you haven't taken that energy that's been converted into slave tokens and paid the gas, water, the electricity and all the tax and the debt with. So it's in you have reserved your rights of your energy. It's in your pocket. Yes, it's in slave tokens, but so what at this point? This is step one. So I go to the shop, which I couldn't go to before, and I say, hello, I'm only here because I discharged all of my debts and I couldn't shop here before because it was too expensive for me, my income. And so I'm very happy that I'm here and I wanted to share with you how I got to be here. So the reason why I'm able to come and fill up the shopping trolley with $1,000 worth of stuff this week, this month, whatever, is because I discharged all of my liabilities, which means that I can invest in your company instead of the local shit shop down the street. So I'm going to show you how it works. How much is all of that? It's $1,000. Okay. There's a rock. That's my share of the planet and its resources, and that's what my currency looks like. But you're going to pay with a rock. Yes, do you know about kindness credits? I'm going to give you my share of the planet and its resources directly into your hand, and you can take what you need from that. Why is the stuff in my shopping basket $1,000? Why is it not $100? Well, because $900 of that is going to go to the system that you used to pay the gas, the water, the electricity, the council tax, the debt, that. Is that why it's $1,000? Yeah. Okay, so at the moment, the rock's worth $1,000. Do you know what to do with that rock? No, give me it back then. And I'm going to turn that, I'm going to show you that that rock's the same. It's my energy. It's my comprehension of what the monetary system, how it works. And so I'm going to take the rock back now. And I'm going to give you $1,000. Now, I'm going to write you a receipt, all the stuff in that shopping basket for one rock. He keeps all of that money tax-wise now. He keeps the tax now off that exchange. He doesn't have to pay 25% of his energy to the system because you put a piece of paper in there that said that at POS, at point of sale, the exchange was done for a rock or 10 rocks. or $1,000 divided by 8, give you how many kindness credits it is. That's a very simple equation. And so he's now got a bill of exchange, the promissory note, the kindness credit note, or just a piece of paper that says 1 bag of shopping, 1 rock. And then in his till, he now gives that to his accountant at the end of the year. And the accountant says, well, what the bloody hell is this? Well, it was a rock. And the rock was worth $1,000. He swapped it back in his pocket, didn't he? He gave you back the rock and he took the $1,000. But then at step 2, then he's like, bloody hell, how do I get a rock? I don't want one of them rocks. I don't want $1,000 now. I want one of them rocks. Okay, well, let's do it again. This time you keep the rock. And you give me back the $1,000. I'll give you back the shopping and we'll do it again. I've got your shopping. I'm your customer. I'll give you the rock. Give me the $1,000 worth of what was worth $1,000 of shopping. And you keep the rock. And I write you the receipt, 1 shopping basket full of shopping, 1 rock. Now, and I give you the note now. Now you've got the kindness credit note and the rock. Now, inside the basket is $1,000. You told us that you were keeping $100 a week out of that. 900 was going out the door. And so on the back of the kindness credit note now, write all of the things that you were paying out. That's why the actual cost of the shopping was 900, because you had all of those things to pay out. Now give me that. Give me that. That's the kindness credit claim form that we're giving you back now. On the back of the note, the financial logic. What are your outgoings? Is everybody with me up to that point? Right. So now keep the rock. And I'm going to, that bag of shopping there, that $1,000 worth of shopping is now worth whatever it is on the back of there. Now I'm giving you my 5 hours. I'm going to take that and discharge all of those liabilities for you and bring you back an assignment of consent next week. And all I want is that bag of shopping once a week. I don't eat $1,000 worth of organic food, but I do go and take that and give it to people who don't know about this. And I knock on their doors, and my other 4 hours that I give to my community each week, and I give them organic food and introduce kindness credits to them using your food. That's a kindness credit direct exchange. That's got no slave tokens involved at all. And what you're doing is you're extending your time and energy you're giving to that individual, which is priceless at that point, because you just helped them put their share of that rock, this rock, their last, back in their hand. So they can do it not just for them, their family, their friends, their own community, and off they go then. And then the people that they introduce it to, off they go, and then off they go, and you've just built your own matrix of kindness credits.
So once you've helped, let's say I go to a farmer, and once I've helped them to eliminate all of their liabilities, then, or even, set it up where they write that on the back of their promissory note, their kind credit note. And then each month I can go back there and get that amount of food from them.
Yeah, you're going to exchange that 5 hours. They're going to put 5 hours in, aren't they? But so at that point there, you say, right, okay, where's your rock? You're going to put your rock in the pot now. What's backing your rock? Well, I'm a farmer and I'm going to give 5 hours of my food that I create, what takes me 5 hours a week to create. I'm going to put that in the pot. So now what you've done is you've not just got the food for yourself, You've got the food for your community as well. That's you then really claiming against your own community pot for your food, isn't it? You put the food in. You can, and this is why people are like, oh, kindness credits, you can easily rip it off. You can't. You can't take out what you haven't put in. Nobody can. Because if you don't put anything in, there's nothing there for you to take, is there? If you haven't gone to speak to the people and said, I discharged all my liability on this website, I spoke to this crazy woman, and I didn't believe her at first, and I thought, I've got nothing left to lose, and I can go back to paying the debtors, my creditors, if it doesn't work. So I was never going to be any worse off than I was already before. So I thought, what have I got to lose? And I jumped straight in and I pressed send. Ooh. And then I got a red paper and I took a photograph of myself, stuck it on a warranty card and said, hello, I'm Minister Emma Ben, and I'm standing here in front of you to tell you how to do it too. You can't, you know, it's so simple, people, so simple. But what the difficult part is to overcome the ego of putting the rock in somebody's hand. The events here, and here, and I know what I was saying, they're like, no, you do it, you do it, you do it. Go and do it. Go and do it. What do you know more about it than the person that you're actually speaking to about it? So you can't think, oh God, I'm going to get it wrong, and I'm going to think that I'm an idiot and don't know what I'm talking about. I went on a website, I put my info in there, I pressed send, and all of my liabilities disappeared. Oh no, I need another one-to-one, please. No, you don't. You don't need a one-to-one with me. You need a one-to-one with yourself in the mirror, and then a one-to-one with somebody in your community that is struggling just like you were until you knew this. That's what you're giving to someone. And that's why I can't put price on kindness credits, because it's kindness. It's the bothering to go and try to alleviate the debt of somebody else's life for them. That's it. And it makes you feel great when you do it. And it makes the feeling becomes worse than any drug that I've had. And that's why I had to curb myself and go, I'm missing out on actually the doing of this now. And so that's why I've cut the Zooms down to once a week and sometimes not at all. But this week, with something worth zooming about and inviting you all in here, because the very system that we think that we need to comprehend and understand just waved the white flag. And it was really the reflection of our minds as a collective saying, I can't stand surety to this anymore. There's nothing to stand surety to, and there's nothing to stand surety for. All of mine and yours and me's equitable rights and rights are all back in our hands, and it is up to us to do what we see as being right. We all know what's right. We don't need another part of us to come along and say, no, that thing that you're doing is not right. Well, I can feel it's not right, actually, but you're telling me it is the right thing, but actually it's the wrong thing, because my solar plexus tells me it's not the right thing. I've got an inbuilt mechanism. I don't need you to write it down and say that thing over there, it's not right. It's not right that you're all dressed up in police outfits and breaking the fucking law. That's not right. It's not right that these people who are occupying these buildings are saying, I'm here to judge you, without an assignment of consent, and the fact that I've just destroyed my definition of surety. So, yet here I am pretending to stand surety to you. But actually I'm not standing surety to you. I'm having you stand surety to a legal fiction that I've copyrighted. And I'm going to judge you, really. You're going to stand and judge these people in your corrupted fucking state and say that I am the one standing surety in this matter. I cannot stand surety. I can't stand surety to such matters. Under the law, I cannot, even if I could, even if you existed, I couldn't give you what it is that you needed in order for you to exist. And because I can't have and appoint another party to stand surety to me in any matters, it means that you just don't exist. And I'm just talking to myself. So there isn't a lot to learn anymore about nothing. There wasn't a lot to learn about nothing anyway, it turned out. There was a lot of inroads, let's say, to get to the point of realization that there was a lot to do about nothing. And that's, you know, thanks to people like 1852, we got what it was an open declaration of their dissolution, denying themselves, and for that, every little time that you may think that you're on your own, or every time that you feel a little bit overwhelmed or frustrated by the people around you, and know that there is nothing at all for you to feel overwhelmed and frustrated about anymore, because you have got all of your rights back in your hands, and they've all been there all along. But you've now not got anything to give them to. You can't say, "Oh, the government did this to me." Well, there isn't the government anymore. It's just you. That's me. That's it. With your share of the rock in your hand, and let's go and build something real. That's the offer of settlement. If anybody wants to join in, we're over here and we're having a really great time. So anybody got anything else that wants to tell us about before I go and sort my dog out that keeps squealing at me across the room? I've never seen them like this before.
So
Yeah.
I've got a quick question. Sorry.
Okay, let's have it then.
Just it's the animosity. Is it anonymity? Just the Minister and Ben. Just I mean, I quite like my name and I want to keep it as that, but then that's then leaving me commercially open, isn't it?
Animosity.
Is it?
You mean anonymity?
Yes.
What could being anonymity to you?
Sorry.
I don't know what it is that you mean of.
So sorry, because everyone uses Minister Emma Ben, don't they?
No, everyone uses Minister Emma Ben and then their ID number next to it.
Yeah. So in what case would you ever use your previous name? Would there be no case to ever use that now?
Has there ever been a good time to be a debt slave?
No. No.
The things like passing through the ports at the moment, people are still using their passports with their rights reserved with a release of commercial instrument. But that's part of the whole package, travel package that you get as and when you decide that it's a benefit for me to use that right now in order for me to exemplify something much more important, such as my rights to travel. So we're getting to the point now that it feels like we're standing on the crest of this massive tsunami wave that's just about to crash down. And next week and over the next coming weeks, if we can still call them weeks, we need to call them collective of 7 days, let's call it. This is where the borders of our minds are going to be completely smashed to the hypothetical shore that doesn't exist anymore, of surety. And so ask me that a question again in 4 weeks, and I'm sure that I'm going to have another answer to the one that I've just given you there. So it's with a release of commercial instrument. If you want to use that legal fiction, it's with a release of commercial instrument that reserves all of the rights while you do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I want to ask, do we have now an order from the court on Thursday outlaying all the things that happened, that this was said and so we could use that paper, you know, that like we have those court orders about COVID and all that we're using
Right, so
when we need them. Is there such a paper?
no, you've got the GCRO. You've got the GCRO. The last document that we got was the GCRO. We have got emails between the agencies and various email addresses that are in no way associated with the Universal Law Community Trust, but have been incorporated to be subject to the GCRO. There's the definition of the restraining order. You can go and have a look at that. Just put in, it's the CPS, go and have a look on the CPS site as to what is the application of a restraining order and who does it apply to, so that you can see that as the defendant in the case file that the GCRO was issued off the back of, that the HMCTS were the defendants, and therefore HMCTS cannot then issue a restraining order on behalf of the defendant, only the victim.
Mhm. Okay, what does GCRO stands for?
Google it. I'm not Google.
Okay.
It stands for bullshit from the administrative court. That's what it stands for. I don't get that the right way around. I mean, it's absolutely.
Yeah, bullshit restraining order.
It's not restraining who from what. So when you read it, you can see, put the two documents together side by side. You've got the claim form that's been stamped. So they've accepted the claim as Minister Emma, and then said that we don't know who it is that the restraining order is for, and then taken the legal fiction out of the claim form that says that Minister Emma, 1851 in this case, misidentified as blah, 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 legal fiction. And they've put the legal fiction can't actually lay a claim. It restrained the legal fiction, they restrained another legal fiction that they haven't spelt right. And so if you can identify who to lay an order against, but on the same paper we said we can't accept this claim because we don't know who the claim's for, but then you've issued an order against the same name that you just said that you don't know what the identification of that individual is. So that's why you can't issue a habeas corpus, or you can't hear a habeas corpus. So they contradicted themselves in just one box about 3 times. And then they incorporated a legal fiction that wasn't spelt in the same way. And so when we applied the order for the 1852, using the same credit file that we'd used before with the national insurance account number with all its rights reserved in the correct spelling of it now, if there ever is one, they then said, oh, we can't use that one either. And the guy who is in, so what they have said is that he has to stand surety to himself. Now, if we have to stand surety to ourselves, then who am I?
The creditor.
I can't define myself. Who am I? You don't do that.
And just
You don't define it.
The
creditor of what?
Of universal law, of my own share, of my equitable rights. I stand surety to myself right after that.
So you've
No,
got
I'm a living woman
So
or a living man.
I could not be the
a
creditor.
living man, a living woman, and man-made definition. So is creditor.
No.
But keep
Yeah,
going.
man.
Keep going. You're nearly there. Go on.
Meaning I stand surety to myself so that I could not be a dead Vatican debt slave because I do not need someone else to stand surety to me. So therefore,
The answer to that question is, who are you to ask me that? If I have to stand surety to myself, and I am standing here sure of myself, and I'm sure that I haven't therefore granted you the role of standing surety to me. So either you are hypothesizing that I have, even though you just told me that I cannot, Or you're hypothesizing that I am something, I am standing surety to something that you have got the jurisdiction of. But you can't have the jurisdiction of anything, can you? Because you just dissolved the very jurisdiction that you needed and the definition of it in order for you to sit there and ask me who I am.
Yeah, exactly. So they just dissolve themselves, basically.
It's a very simple shrug of the shoulders, isn't it? It's because you know what is when you actually assimilate that thing that surety is or was that you're giving away, and you've got all of that back in your hands. The question is, are you sure that you want to do this? Are you sure that you want to invest any more energy into defining yourself as anything ever again? I'm sure that I don't, and the more that I don't do that, the more sure I am. I don't need any surety because there is nothing that I need surety for.
Is in this case where they have dissolved themselves, doesn't that mean that the legal fiction title becomes an equitable
Dissolved
title because
No,
we are standing surety for ourselves now? So if this name was given by my mother and they dissolved themselves as a fraud, it's gone and done and dusted, disappeared, doesn't exist, that means the name that our mothers and fathers gave us is actually ours, is not copyrighted anymore because they have dissolved their whole system.
It's not that it was copyrighted anymore. It was that we were picking up and using a corrupted version of it and laying a claim to it and saying it's mine.
But what is not corrupted version?
It's the corrupted version of it is that your mother gave you that name. It's not your name, is it? Your mother could call you Twinkle Topped Sparkly Tits, but you might not. You might want to go and change that. It's a name that you call yourself.
Okay.
Sound of Music.
Oh.
I'm listening to Sound of Music. She tells us it all there. Me, a name I call myself. Have you heard that song?
No.
Oh, you have to go and listen to Sound of Music. It's all there. All of it. Go and it's me, isn't it? So if it all comes down to me in the end, then and I'm standing there, where am I standing? They can't put you anywhere. You can't go anywhere unless you want to. If you want to go in there and arrest the bastards for not so much as what they're doing to you, but on behalf of, if the unknowing knew this, then it would be fair to presume, if we're going to presume the consent of people, that if the unknowing knew what it was that was going on, then they would not consent to it.
Okay, so then the name that our mothers gave us and fathers gave us is not ours because it was given to us. It's not because it's copyrighted. Yeah, like you said.
It's what you define yourself as. If I point the finger at you and say you are this, does it make you that thing just because I said you were?
No.
Most people don't resonate with the name that they've been given. So many people say, I hate my name, Why do you call yourself that then?
I thought this was all to do with copywriting your name by when your parents have requested for the birth certificate, and that's when this name became the property, so to speak, of the crown.
Last name first, first name last, capitalized letters, no space in the middle. That when you go into Security Exchange Commission and you secure somebody's name in there, then that's what it comes out when you do a search. Last name first, first name last all together, and then the first letter of any middle initial at the end. But
And this means now that this is the copyrighted part, the copyrighted title, or not copyrighted, or
it means it's bullshit, love, and I don't know why you're asking me.
no. I'm trying to. I missed the part where. What's the difference between
Bullshit,
writing
bullshit.
a name?
I don't know. Let's throw it open. 1160. Do you know the difference between bullshit and bullshit?
And
I
it's all
know
bullshit.
it's no difference.
It's just a, you know, little letters, big letters. It's just a man-made definition. Are we going to go down the rabbit hole of syntax at this point? Because that's the Vatican's work as well. And say, right, okay, well, my name's special because mine's got hyphen in it, and only the first letter is capitalized of the first name. Well, but the first name's not the first name, is it? Even if you got a hyphen in it, it's the last name first and your first name last all the time. Look at your passport, look at your driving license. Do we want to put a hyphen in there? It means incorporated. It means joined to. If it's in little letters, you know, look what you've got me doing. You've got me defining their bullshit for me. It's bullshit. I just put a big sack around it. This is all varying degrees of bullshit, but it's bullshit all the same.
I got a nice story though.
Oh,
So the other day, this is about 10 days ago, and I was just driving down to shift all my stuff from the other house, and I saw two kids on a bike who were stopped by two cops for like jumping a red light. Obviously, no loss, harm, or damage had been caused, and the kid was just about to sign the ticket, and I stopped there, and I was like, I switched on my camera obviously to record it. I stood there for half an hour trying to explain to the cops that, well, they were breaking the law and wearing that uniform, and they didn't have any right of use of anything that they were wearing because, well, it's my collateral, first of all. And then secondly, that kid hadn't caused any loss, harm, or damage. So till the time they could prove that, they could not charge the kid. And so I kept telling the kid, I was like, have you given your consent to this? Have you given your consent to this? He was like, no, I haven't done anything. And he looked shit scared, by the way, of the whole situation at that point. And I was like, okay, do one thing, just don't sign that piece of paper, because don't become the liability holder in due course of whatever they're trying to charge you. Just do not consent to it. Simple. And let me handle the rest. And so he was like, okay, I won't do that. So obviously I gave him the website and I gave him my number and, you know, to get in touch later on. So I was like, you can leave now if you want. You don't have to listen to any of these guys. But the police guy went and stood right in front of him. I was like, are you raping him of his rights to travel freely now? If there's no victim around, then you cannot charge him. He's like, oh, he's broken traffic rules. I was like, well, those are rules. Those are not laws. And so now, if you're raping him of his rights, then you're an impersonator of police officer. So I'm obliged to arrest you.
Nice.
And he was like, oh, and he's like, oh, this guy's gone crazy. So there's two of them standing there, and he's like, oh, you're mad, you're mad. I was like, so be it. Your definition of me is that I'm mad, but I'm only here upholding the law, and I see you breaking it. So I was like, in Hindi, basically I said, has anyone been injured? And in Hindi, it means also to die. Like means to either to hit someone or to kill someone, basically, both. And so he's like, what, are you waiting for someone to die? I was like, well, quite frankly, that's why you're standing here on the street, that there's no loss, harm, or damage caused. So if there's nothing that's been caused, then he's free to go. And so I basically told the bike guy, I was like, it's the number plate that's doing you in. So change that and look at my number plate. And that's a private conveyance. You need to make your bike a private conveyance so that these guys cannot stop you ever again for not causing any loss, harm, or damage. And it was so amazing that they were like, oh, now you're doing this, you're doing that. I was like, well, you're impersonating a police officer, so I'm obliged to uphold the law and arrest you. So, okay, go ahead and arrest me. So I was like, okay, great. So I put my hand on his arm and I was like, you're under.
And what happened next?
And he's like, why did you touch me? Why did you touch me? I was like, well, because you asked me to, isn't it? Because you're breaking the law. I told you I'd have to arrest you, and you gave me an invitation to arrest you. And so I took you up on the offer. It's as simple as that. And he was like shocked, and he was like, oh, you're mad. Where's your mask? I was like, well, I've got a coronavirus immunity record. And I was like, that mask is, you're breaking the law, so I might have to arrest you for that as well. But any case, let that be. And then we carried on for like about half an hour on that. And in the middle, this kid is looking at me and he's like, has this guy gone absolutely crazy? And I was like, you see how easy it is? You see how easy it is? Just pull your camera out, start recording them. They can't do shit in any case because that's evidence. He's like, oh, you can't record me. I was like, well,
Oh, I've lost you.
space, isn't it? So this is evidence now for me from, hello?
Yeah, go on. We
Hello?
lost you for a nanosecond there. Go
Hello?
on.
Okay, so I was like, well, this is public space and this is my evidence because, well, this is going to go into evidence for whatever happens after this and whatever you want to do. Or let me call the local police. And they called the local police after that. So they drove in a car and I was like, hey, thank you for getting me my collateral. That's one of my cars that you're driving in. Thank you. So just having a little fun with them as well. And then he comes in, he's like, what you're doing, you're breaking the law. This, I was like, no, I'm not breaking the law. I'm just getting these guys to stop breaking the law. And even you are aiding and abetting the breaking of the law right now. So I'll have to arrest you as well. So at this point now there's 4 officers in front of me and 2 little bike guys. These guys are looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy. And I had another MON on the phone at that time speaking to me where we were already in conversation. So he's already on the phone and then he is witnessing this over the phone on the conversation. And I was like, well, see that. And then he started taking my car, the number plate number down. And I was like, well, that's a private conveyance. You should not be able to see it because it's not in your jurisdiction at all. So even taking that number plate number down would be a violation of my rights right now. And you're raping me of my rights. So again, you're impersonating a police officer. So should I arrest you as well? And so he was like, so all of this at this point is like, and then I told him, I was like, listen, I'm trying to help you guys. You need to stop doing what you're doing because I am your secured party creditor. And this whole government has been secured by us. And you have no right to do any of this.
You've
And
got
so,
surety. You've got nobody
Yeah.
writing your actions anymore. The police,
yeah.
nobody.
And so then the police officer was like, he had the ticket in his hand. And I was like, that is an unsigned ticket. And I was like, you can't fine him. So he's like, oh, I'm not fining him. I'm giving him a court date. I was like, oh, you're giving him a court date so that the court can open up his credit file and then charge him for something that a law they didn't break and no loss, harm, or damage. Oh, great. That's amazing. So you got this guy. Oh, if he doesn't pay, then I will take his bike. I was like, for what joy would you take his bike? That's secured by me. What are you going to do? Take the ticket and put Minister Movan on it. And I will appear for him in court. Obviously, he didn't do that. And then so he was basically left with the ticket in his hand and the kid just rode off after that. And I was like, win. That's amazing. These guys went about their own business. And he's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to tell us not to charge anybody then from now on? I was like, that's exactly what I'm telling you to do.
That's what you need to
And
do.
if it takes me,
You know, your 5 hours a week, just go and follow the police around, go to the courts, go to go and have a look on the court server, and find or contact the court and ask them what day is it that you hold the council tax forum in your building, and they'll tell you. Go down there and discharge everybody's liabilities for them. As Minister of Event, all you have to do is assign this liability to me now on the website, and I'm going in, and in you go. Bish, bash, bosh, oh God, you've contested it, you've rebutted the presumption.
and it was so good, like watching those kids.
Brilliant stuff, really, really awesome.
Yeah, then having them, he's like, I'm getting late for college. I was like, then go. I was like, but why do you want to go to college? To get indoctrinated? I was like, here's a website. Go on to that instead. And here's my number. Give me a call once you wrap your head around it.
Really awesome, really awesome. Go in and do
And
it.
that was absolutely brilliant. But then I went into another shop after that where my dry cleaning was being done, and I offered him also his deaths and liabilities discharge. And apparently right next to his shop is a vacant lot that's just lying there, with owners and the property dealers have basically come and changed the title deed in the land registry onto their names, and now they're going to sell it. So I want to stop them from doing that.
Well, that's going to be interesting. Isn't it?
So I just put a yeah, I just want to go and put it, but yeah, I just don't have my community ready over here, at least right now. So
Yeah,
it's just going to be a little bit of a task to.
You're getting them. You're getting them. At least you speak their language.
Yeah, no, meaning. Yeah, meaning it was really interesting. Like these conversations now go on for like an hour because you know they're like, oh, what if this happens and what if that happens, and then you sort of go into it a bit. And I was like, well, I'm under non-disclosure, but I still can't disclose everything. But I will tell you like this much about it, that if you didn't have your electricity and your tax and all of that to pay, how much should you save? Like then we do the financial logic as well. But then they're like, these guys are so afraid of the government for some reason. And I was like, it's all fiction. Otherwise, I wouldn't be roaming around talking to you in any case. I'd have a bullet in my head. So, I mean, it's just,
proof number
it
plate.
is just that. Yeah, seriously. Meaning, oh, the other day when I shifted in, the truck guy parked in front of the house to unload the stuff. And 2 police officers came then as well. They're like, oh, you'll have to pay 500 rupees for this, for parking here. So I went outside and I was like, nah, no, they don't. I was like, look at that number plate right in front of you. So I use it at every point in time and they can't do anything. I was like, that is out of your jurisdiction. And this truck, I'm standing surety to. And before the truck departed from the other house, I gave him a kindness credit note and I gave him an ID, like one of my IDs.
Nice one.
And I told him that if any cop stopped you on the way because it's exceeded, they have these timings that trucks can go into the cities and stuff. So they have certain timings that after 11 o'clock, you can't fly on the roads and stuff like that. So I was like, any case, I'll be following you. And if you have any issues, I'll be right there to stand surety to you. But in any case, if you use this kindness credit note and you show it to the cop, then he can't go into your truck in any case to do anything because it's out of commerce completely. But I was like, well, all you have to do is now you have a truck, you have a transport business, and all I need to do is basically have you sign your consent, and we need to just change your number plates on the truck so that you're completely out of commerce, and then you can use the kindness credit note at the point of sale to exchange for slave tokens. And then obviously, if you don't have any debts or liabilities, then you become the cheapest in the market. And then maybe, you can expand your business as well. And he was really interested in, and there was like 2-3 other guys as well, who by the way, sleep in the truck. To which I was like, okay, then get your community together and let's restore some right to shelter for you guys as well. So I was like, we can do all of this, but only if you guys come together to do it. And, and so I gave him that, and luckily nobody stopped him. And he tried to come in the middle of saying, okay, don't do this with the cops. And I was like, listen, just stay back. I got it sorted. Don't worry, just watch and learn. I told you I was going to stand surety to you. So let me stand surety to you now. So I spoke to the cops and I was like, well, I'm your secured party creditor and you have no authority to act from me, from ULCT, because we haven't given you an authority to act as you are a debtor account. So what are you making a claim that now you can claim against your secured party creditors? And then I showed him the UCC 1 and stuff as well, just to go into his head a bit, basically. And the other cop came in and he's like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, well, you're breaking the law, so I'm obliged to now uphold the law and arrest you if you go any further. And it's so much fun because their eyes just open up and then they start smiling and then they start trying to wiggle their way out of it when you say you're going to arrest them. And then I was like, listen, and I was like, you don't need to do any of this either. So here's the website and here's the number. Hey, this is Minister Emaven speaking to you. And whenever it is that you get tired of making money for a slave system and compounding your own slavery and being paid by your own credit file because you signed a stupid contract, then come uphold the law with us and become People's Protection Patrol. And we'd be more than happy to discharge all your debts and liabilities for you as well.
I give you a big.
And yeah.
You are really awesome. 1160s.
And then they left.
And then they left. Of course they did. There was nowhere for them to go, is there? Except for
It's
the
so much fun. It's so much fun. And so the best part was that I exemplified it in front of them, and I exemplified it in front of my my brother-in-law as well. And he was also looking from the gate, and he was like, what the hell is he doing? So I was like, see, I told you it works. Like, I'm not shitting you. I'm not living in fiction. It actually works, because everyone happens to think I've gone absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And nobody will let me discharge their utilities for them even. And so I was like, oh my God, man, like I'm staying here and being coerced into so many things. But in any case, it's so much fun doing all of that. And I just wish more people would and there were a lot of people looking up as well, like looking around at what was happening. So, and then after that, there was like 2-3 bikers that went the wrong way on the street. And in front of me, he's stopping them. I was like, what the hell are you doing? You don't have any jurisdiction. If anybody's going to stop them, it's going to be me.
I'm stopping you.
So why don't you go
now.
about? Yeah, exactly. Do not stop them, because if anybody has to stop them, it's going to be me. It's not going to be you, because I'm People's Protection Patrol and you're a policy enforcer. You're not upholding the law. So he stops that biker, and I tell that biker, I was like, listen, just don't travel on the other side of the road, but you're free to go. And he's like, oh. And he's like, the police officer is like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, well, I'm doing your job for you. I'm showing you what you should be doing instead of supporting a corporation. And so one biker goes, second biker goes, the third guy, he stops. And I was like, listen, guys, first of all, stop acting stupid and going the wrong way on a street and potentially causing loss, harm, or damage, because that's what these guys are stopping you for. It's an assumption that these guys are going on, is that you are going to do this, and we're here for your safety, to stop you, and then also charge you for your energy. So I was like, why don't you just save your energy and just not do this? But all we can do is give you a warning, obviously, and you're free to go because you haven't caused any loss, harm, or damage. And then the guy stopped, and I was like, well, remove that mask first of all, because I can actually charge you for wearing that mask. You're aiding and abetting terrorism and the slavery system. So that guy is like, so he started listening to me, and the cops like literally standing there on the side and listening to both of us having this conversation. And so I was like, that number plate is the reason why this guy can stop you, because he doesn't need your name. He just needs you to admit your name from your mouth, literally. And since he's got it on his system now, in that little, thing that they punch in the name and the ticket comes flowing out of it. So I was like, just change your number plate. And I was like, oh, there's my car. Have a look at my private conveyance. That's my private number plate. Why don't you also take the website? And he's like, and I was like, listen, if COVID was a thing, you think that stupid cotton mask, which is halfway down your nose, would be protecting you? Wouldn't we all be in PPE kits, like with our own private oxygen supply, and not be roaming around outside absolutely loose and fancy free, like nothing's happening? So he's like, yeah, I've been telling my friends that as well, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, enough of that. Here's the website. Here's the number. This has been a STEM event speaking to you. Have a lovely day.
Yeah,
so he's like, oh, I would definitely do this. And I was like, oh, we have another example. Here's the YouTube channel as well. Watch how we handle the cops. And so it's just so much fun on every single day that one ventures out as an STEM event. And I don't know why anyone would want to use the legal fiction in any case.
I don't know why
And
do anything other than that myself. It is so much fun. But getting into standing in the way of these criminals and showing other people.
Yeah, but the only thing is, what I want to do is have them arrest me, but they don't make a claim against me at any point in time, no matter how hard I try. I've grabbed them. What else do I do to have them take me away?
They're not going to do that. That's the whole point of this. The more it's exemplified, like exactly what you're doing there is the best way of exemplifying it firsthand, in the flesh, if you like, people can't deny it. And that's why, you know, opening shops and or going and doing what you were doing there, just police the police. And anybody who says that they've got, I can't think of what to do for my 5 hours. There's so many things that you could be doing for many more hours than 5 hours a week, just by going and applying this and using the structures to support yourself from. Everybody's like, oh, well, I've got to claim benefits. No, you don't. Go and knock on 5 people's doors, get 5 people in each week, and those people put in 10% of what they've saved. And for anything that you need, the community can't stand surety to exchange for you, with you, for your 5 hours, then you can say, right, okay, I need some slave tokens out of that pot, please. That's all, and what it is, it's actually freely given energy. Okay, it's converted back into slave tokens. At the point where you decide to go and spend the slave tokens, again, it's down to you. If you have knocked out every avenue where you would normally use slave tokens and convert them onto kindness credits, you don't need that. You're doing an exchange in the second column, and you've got nothing to do with the slave system whatsoever. You can never incriminate yourself. So, you know, there's 1,000 excuses for why people haven't created their own community, but none of them are valid, because everybody's promised to be 5 hours a week to doing just that, to going and sharing. I'll teach 5 people. I'll teach, you know, what are you going to do for your 5 hours? I'm going to share this with 5 people. Okay, well, in 5 weeks, sharing it with 5 people, if you had 1 out of 5, then, you know, you should have 5 people at the end of 5 weeks. So
I went into the pet store as well. And I told them about kindness credits as well. And so there's this guy who got his dog in, who deals in distressed properties. And he's like, oh, I do lots and lots of business in commerce, and I'm absolutely tax-free. So I was like, that's absolutely great. He's like, people are stupid that they pay taxes. I don't need to. So I was like, okay, here's an offer. Why don't you let me know which properties are mortgaged, and maybe we can help those people who are distressed and get out of the, you know, situation, their debt situation. He was like, oh, no, and he went away. So I was like,
Plus, he's not going to say yes to you for that. He's not going to say yes to you for that, because he's a greedy capitalist.
Oh no, I should have arrested him for doing that,
You should
shouldn't
have
I?
arrested him. Well, all commerce is secured. You cannot. And now you can't say, if you've given somebody that explanation and put them on notice, then at that point, the deeds that you're committing and the actions that you're forcing people into, after knowing what it is that I've just told you, and you blatantly refuse the offer of settlement of your own criminal acts, then I've got to arrest you. And they're like dying suddenly, because these are the people, right? These are the people that are used to being told what to do. And this is just a little example. Over the electricity, this new bank that we're opening, they fannied about, because obviously I've mentioned Catholic supply, which is that I don't need a supplier. I just want my connection to my share of the planet and its resources, i.e. electricity. So if you don't come and connect it today, I'm going to do it myself, which I was already going to do nearly 2 months ago. And the whole street screaming behind me, stop, I'm not going to tell you can electrocute yourself. And so okay, we'll go down this route. And so the people who stopped me now have lost nearly 2 months worth of exchange. And so I called them and I said, if you don't come, and I sent them an email, if you don't come today, I'm going to do it myself and connect myself back to my universal Catholic key, means universal supply. And about half an hour later, I got a phone call. What time are you going to be there? And so they came and they connected it. So you really are, and you always have been, the creditor. When you know how it is that this corporation gets your share and your consent, and you stop giving it to them, and you know that there is a trespasser on your supply who is now supposed to be standing surety to the supply of your electricity. But hang on a minute, it wasn't the electricity company that came and connected me. It was the national grid. So what of the supply that I've got? Where is that from? It's not from but they want you to assign your consent of your share of that supply that's being utilised by the national grid to a supplier. Well, what if I don't? What if I stand surety to my own supplier? What if I am my own supplier? What if I am my own water purification company? What if I am my own organic food producer? What if I am my own debt buying company? What if I am my own trust? And so,
What if I am my own everything?
what if I am just me? And that's that, you know, we don't need to know any fancy lingo, any fancy legalese. You just need
Yeah,
to,
but the best part is that they tell you what they need. You don't need to know anything. Once you go in there, they tell you exactly what they need and you just create it.
or you don't. You sound very sorry, but I haven't
Yeah,
got,
or you don't.
I haven't got the capacity.
Yeah.
I'm incapacitated, aren't I? I thought I was an incapacitated little miner. I thought I was a nothing. Why would you ask me to create something for you?
Yeah,
I'm an empty credit file.
and another thing is that I just recently got offered a right of use of an apartment. So, but that's not in the same state. But yeah, we're planning it out. It's nice. It's nice discharging mortgages, right? You get a little right of use.
Yeah, you get a clean right of use with no slavery.
Yeah.
No slavery was stood surety to in any of these exchanges. That's it.
Yeah.
So has anybody else got anything?
Oh, could I just ask one more thing? Is that if, let's say, if I don't want to compound slavery and don't want to have slave tokens for my right to travel freely abroad, and I do not have a passport, then do it just, yeah, can I just go in, use my, I know I can.
Please walk, get a horse.
Why can't, let's say if I wanted to fly there,
But
would
just ask me the
it be
question.
would it be advisable to get into the airport, use my warranty card and get on a plane?
Yes, do you remember the stories that I told you about the evidence of life form? Please go back and listen to those videos about how you put them on notice, you send them a copy of the documentation that you have got, and you get them to refuse it in writing, and then you prosecute them for discrimination. Or whatever else you might like to think of on the charge sheet. And then lo and behold,
Okay,
they
so
come out to you and they say, yes, would you like to come and pick your ticket up from the ticket office?
okay, so remember that I had done this one time, not for international travel, but for national travel, when you spoke to that being as well.
Yes.
At the airline office. So they obviously didn't reply to the email. So is it possible?
There is another document, isn't there, that you can get, and that I have given this much time to people who were supposed to put applications together using the live born record in place of the birth certificate. What has come out of that is jack shit, because nobody bothers to chase any of it up. They expect me to do it, and I'm not. I don't need to do any of these things because I've already done them. You guys need to go and do them. And so how you go and do them is completely up to you, but you know, that's it, it's up to you. How you do it and how you get it exemplified, it depends on your ability to be able to create the environment in which you will get what it is, the desired outcome state. And only that will happen when all of your own presumption has been removed from the creation of that scenario. Up until then, you will try again and again and again. You know, it didn't come, wasn't one-off instantaneous hit that I managed to do this. You know, I lost 2 cars while I was testing the water to see which way through this you had to go. So it's not, and I realized it was myself that was projecting the scenario. And until I removed all of those preconceptions and projections that I was adding to the administration of me exercising my rights, with any part of my being and my ego and my fear and all of those things that it goes into the creation of a circumstance. Until you've got rid of all of that, I don't know how many times you're going to have to bang your head against the illusionary wall.
So go arrest them, basically.
One day, yeah, I mean, who are these people? This is my point. Who are these people squatting at your border? They haven't got a border. I don't need off who. Here is the government. I'll just explain. Please don't make me explain this again. Here is a system that depends on surety in order for it to exist. And here is the same system saying that we cannot exist because you all have to stand surety to yourselves. Who am I standing surety to myself? I don't need to stand surety to myself because there is nothing that I need surety from if I have to stand surety to myself, because it was only the act of giving it away to a third party that made me then have to have insurance against the very thing that I granted my rights to stop it persecuting me. So I persecuted myself in order to persecute myself. The fuck is that? So
Okay, great. I think I know what to do.
I just explained that's what it is that I did.
I'm just gonna go try it out.
First of all, I got myself into a position where I knew that whatever it was that came next was whatever it was that I believed I was capable of executing. And even at the point of doing it, I'm still thinking, fucking hell, I can't believe I'm doing this. The bit that comes, even though you're walking up to the passport control in Brussels, for example, and you're like, and they're just like, yeah, off you go. I'm like, what person? I'm like, what was I even doing? They're not interested in me. They're interested in getting home and having some tea or watching Netflix or going and having a big bong down in the whatever it is. And so, but because I had got myself into the position where I knew that I was going to create what came next, and I managed to get my ego out of the way enough to be able to say, right, okay, I'm putting my trust in another part of me instead of trusting what this Babylonian bullshit doctrinated part believes. And it was that. And it, I wouldn't have tried that part until I got to that part. Maybe I don't know. But when when you've really got to the point where you are aware of the matrix, then and your part in it that you're creating. And so
Meaning it is basically the same thing again and again, isn't it?
it's your
Like,
mind.
it's all this. It's all this. It's just a repetition at different levels, at different things that they do it to you.
No, it's
They
not
all
what
need
they
the
do.
same.
It's not what they do, it is what you believe they are. And if you can no longer believe that there is a they, then they can no longer do anything to you.
Mhm.
And
As in just like the tricks and traps. That's it.
it's like melting the spoon with your mind, or making your solid gold ring smaller by melting the particles of the metal until it fits in. or manifesting the most beautiful life that you can imagine and sitting in it. That's it. That's when you've mastered, not mastered, you've ministered your mind in the realms of whatever this is, this indefinable state of being where you create reality from your beliefs. And they know that. That's why they use the TV. They know that everybody creates reality with their beliefs. It's only us fucking idiots that don't know that. We're all looking over our shoulder going, it's them, look at them, what they're making me do. Look at them making me do this. All right, okay.
Can I interrupt? It's 1367 here.
Hello, are you sure it's 1367?
It definitely is this time.
It sounded like the truth juggler and he got booted out.
I don't know if I'll be allowed back in now. Don't seem to be.
Not in that meeting. And you've been reported as well.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, in one
Nice.
booking case.
We've got a lot going on here, obviously,
Yeah.
to discuss, so we're going to leave now.
Right, please don't speak about anything about that.
I'm not going to.
All right.
I'm going. That's why we're going.
All
I'm going.
right, okay, all right. Well, thanks for all doing what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of love to
All
you.
right. Yeah. Lots of love. Bye. All.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I'm going to go now as well because it's 20 to 12 at my end and I've nearly done my 5 hours in one evening. Everybody put any questions that come up on an email and we'll send you over an invite for the next one. Emmaven 1160 as Emmaven 1160 does the other Zooms. When are you doing your next one?
I've been very just caught up with the whole shifting and stuff, but tomorrow,
All right, okay. So
like this week I'll start off this week again.
so what time's the one tomorrow?
It is at 10 o'clock my time.
10 o'clock your time.
10 o'clock my time.
That's
Yeah, which is sorry, I think it's 4:30, 5:30 or something like that. GMT.
in the afternoon.
Yeah, in the afternoon, evening. Yeah.
Lovely. Right, guys. So if you want any more of that, it's Minister Emmaven India that you want to email at protonmail.com, and he can take you through the paces to get you to the point where you're doing the same thing that he just talked about doing next week. And we want to see the videos. So lots of love to everybody and thank you for coming.